We welcome you to Huntsville ISD Stadium as we get set and ready for tonight's action featuring your Huntsville Hornets and the Bryan Vikings. Hello there once again, everybody. No, this is not the beloved, I say hesitantly, no kidding. This is not the beloved Carlos Zimmerman and Brian Adams. Instead, while they are out vacationing, we're not going to call it work, they're vacationing out in Central Florida at the moment. We got the other duo here tonight. Alongside me, the Hornet Sideline reporter for this season in Houston Hardcastle. My name is Jordan Smith, and coming up later in the pregame show and throughout the contest tonight, our sideline reporter Emma Sims we will check in with throughout the ball game. Houston, let's talk about first the loss last week, a very close, hard-fought game between both sides, between them and Brenham in Huntsville, but unfortunately, late decisions, costly turnovers throughout the ball game. Even though it was a very good offensive outing, at least from the rushing side, too much was allowed on the defensive side, too many turnovers, and at the end, that's what ended up ruining the chances for Huntsville late in the ballgame was costly turnovers.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Jordan. The Huntsville Hornets, they had about 367 total yards of rushing. The ground game was there, just unable to get the passing game going. Austin Taylor, the quarterback, 2 interceptions, very costly, especially that early interception that allowed the Brenham Cubs to get out to an early lead, 15-0. Turnovers are a big part of any football game, and when you allow too many of them, it's going to lead to bad things, and that's what we saw with Huntsville last week. Got off to a slow start and just weren't able to recover from it, and that is why Brenham walked away. So the keys to Huntsville for this game is definitely taking care of the ball. You got to limit those turnovers that you had last week. Don't put your defense in a bad situation either. That happened a lot last week, and the Hornets will come out on top on this one.
And now taking a look at the opponent tonight here in the Bryan Vikings. This is a team that Huntsville faced off against last year out in Bryan College Station and put the absolute tar and feather on them at what felt like, if I'm not mistaken, close to a 40-point victory in that ball game, if not more. And we're able to really continue some big pre-district momentum with that win last year. Just kind of talk to me a little bit about what you saw, because you were there as well last year. Mm-hmm. Kind of talk to me a little bit about, what that can kind of do looking back, because that's the only film that you probably have is what you got from them plus, last week's game. But kind of talk to me about how you switch that mentality coming into this season from, hey, we beat them by 40+, but now we can't think like that because otherwise we're then going to get beaten by 40+.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it, Jordan. I mean, this is a Huntsville team that's got its back against the wall. They are coming off of a very tough loss to a good Brenham team, and all due respect, that is a very good Brenham team that came into Huntsville and just absolutely kept sucking the life out of this crowd. They had a couple huge plays from their running back in the backfield, already got a couple of D1 offers, and that guy is really the reason why Brenham won that game. Huntsville had Brenham on a 4th and 1 last week. If you guys weren't able to tune into the game, Huntsville had Brenham on a 4th and 1, but the running back was able to get outside and really get him down to the 5-yard line and set up the game-winning score for the Brenham Cubs. So you're coming into this game against Bryan, and yes, last year they did absolutely dominate them. It was a 61-27 game. I mean, it was just complete domination all night at Huntsville last year, and it's just something that you need to build on going into this week. You're coming off of a tough loss, and you're coming into a game that you're obviously expected to win by a large margin because look what happened last year. You won 61-27. So Huntsville just needs to build off that and don't get caught up in the past. You need to look forward, don't look back. Just keep going forward.
With that, we will take a quick timeout. When we come back, it's Southern Talk, presented by Charlie's Used Cars. Carlos Zimmerman, while he was still here in town before taking his vacation, got a chance to sit down with the head coach of your Huntsville Hornets in Rodney Southern. We will head to that interview during this commercial break. We'll be back after this with Hornet football on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports.
You talked about the offense returning 11 seniors. Can you talk about their defense and just what stands out about the Viking D?
Well, some of it is they're a little bit unique in what I think they're trying, or what we feel like they're trying to do. Now, they're experienced. They play a true 3-down line front. All 3 of those guys are back, and 2 of them are big guys. They're 2-4 technique guys. They're pretty big athletic guys. Hopefully some of the things they do we can take advantage of in terms of formation to be able to get the ball in our playmakers' hands. And we almost had 3 guys rush for 100 yards the other night. We had almost 400 yards rushing, and we've got to be able to do those things to be successful, but what we've got to do is extend the drives on them defensively and keep the ball out of number 1's hands.
How's the overall health of the team going here into week 2?
Well, Fred got a little bit of a pull, and he's been at practice. He'll be probably by Thursday. You kind of look and say, can he help us tonight? So Fred might be a little limited tonight, but other than that, everybody's good.
And then I want to highlight your quarterback, Austin Taylor, and just how has he just been able to bounce back from all those issues? I mean, he's a senior, and there's issues from Friday, and he's a senior, and he's got that maturity factor to him. Just how has he been able to just focus on what's at hand at practice?
Well, I think, number 1, maturity, experience. The first 2 series of the game were on our minus end of the field. The interception of the screen was a great play by their DN. And if he obviously could have that 1 run back, because he had another run later that was probably almost as long, and he protected the ball. And that's hard on a quarterback because you don't know who's coming from behind you, or quarterbacks are going to have opportunities to be the hero, and they're going to sometimes make mistakes that are a little bit more glaring because they're the guy with the ball in their hand. But I think Austin had a good week of practice. I know all our running backs had a good week of practice. So you just got to move on, and we've got to treat these games. Bryan is going to remind me a whole lot of the Texas highs and some of the people that hopefully we're having to face at some point in playoffs.
Special teams was very impressive against Brenham and Caleb Kulak getting his first taste of the action. Just what are you going to be looking at of that 3rd level of your team going into this ball game?
Well, I thought, he got the ball out, obviously made his extra points, which is the first and most critical thing. The moment wasn't too big for him, which is good because he's very inexperienced in terms of football. We got to get a little more distance and a little better in the punt game. We didn't flip the field as much as I wanted to, but the things that we asked him to do the other night, I thought he did them pretty well. We kept the ball on kickoff away from the people that were the biggest threats, and we had net 0 on punt return, but we didn't have enough distance. I think he averaged 23, 24 yards a punt. We got to get better than that. But I thought our kick coverage was really good. I thought our punt pro was pretty good. And obviously when he goes out there, the biggest thing, make your extra points.
That's right. And lastly, Coach, keys to the game brought to you by Charlie's Used Cars. How do you just pull off a complete game together here against Bryan to go 1-1?
Well, the biggest thing, we can't turn it over like we did the other night. And, and we talked about it last Saturday, and we've talked about it in practice about doing your job. Don't try to do 2 jobs, because when you do that, you're not going to do either one of them very good. So offensively, we've got to start faster than we started the other night. We can't fall behind 15 points like that. Defensively, we got to know where number 1 is, and you got to fly to the ball and get him on the ground, because he's going to make that 2nd and 3rd effort play if you're not careful. But we've got to establish our run game, and I think if we'll take care of the football, we got a chance to be very successful tonight.
Keys to the game brought to you by Charlie's Used Cars, and that'll do it for Southern Talk. Coach, thanks for your time.
No problem.
Jordan Houston return with more of the Charlie's Used Cars pregame show when we return.
This has been Southern Talk with head coach Rodney Southern. Brought to you by Charlie's Used Cars. This is the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports.
Jim Rushing here with Charlie's Used Cars and Service Center. With the warmer temperatures coming, there is no better time to get your vehicle's air conditioner serviced and ready for Texas heat. Charlie's Service Center can take care of your vehicle's service needs or routine maintenance. If you're in the market for a quality pre-owned vehicle, check out the selection we have here at Charlie's Used Cars. You can shop us online at charliesusedcars.com or stop in to see us at 230 I-45 South in Huntsville. We are family-owned and operated since 1973 and will treat you with superior customer service and show you why we have been voted best place to buy a pre-owned vehicle numerous times. Come see us at Charlie's Used Cars.
Kyle's reporting. I'm a varsity linebacker, and you're listening to 101.7 KSAM Stadium Hornets.
Back here at Huntsville ISD Stadium as we get set and ready for tonight's matchup featuring your Huntsville Hornets and the Bryan Vikings. But for now, we go to our third member of the broadcast here tonight. Filling in as a sideline reporter is Miss Emma Sims. Emma, welcome to the broadcast here tonight. Taking a look at...
Go ahead and repeat that for me real quick. It's really crazy down here with it being senior night.
AB Squared Self-Storage is your local go-to self-storage facility that can help give you
So
the
I guess
extra
just kind
space
of
you need.
talking about the game tonight and taking a look at the opponent, obviously, in Bryan, a team who's coming in here and trying to get some revenge for last season. But we were kind of talking about it before the game and looking at some of the numbers from last year, for last week. One thing that really stood out to me for Huntsville on the offensive side, the rushing yards. 47 rushing attempts for 367 yards of offense out of the total 445 they had. They really, really got themselves a good running game this season, led by Trayshawn Brown and Austin Taylor. But really, that running game looked very strong, and I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case here tonight.
Yeah, I definitely think they need to keep their running game strong, that's all you're going to do to win. That's probably the best thing they can do, keep their running game strong. And then on the defensive side, they need to make sure they keep the quarterback back. They need to make sure that they're just pushing that line back and going for more interceptions and just go from there. And then that will most likely bring out a win.
Yeah, and we were kind of talking about the defense a little bit. It was a positive seeing the running game do so well.
6-295-2067 or
you were
visit
able
them
to
at
get
2914
around,
Road in
unfortunately,
Huntsville.
499 yards
is the best place for children to
offense.
be. We offer a full-day pre-K center to advanced career and college options, along with a variety of extracurricular activities and award-winning fine arts,
Apologies,
band and
technical
athletics
difficulties
programs,
here.
and excellent child nutrition and bus transportation services, bilingual ESL and GT programs, special education services, and a career and technical education program that
Meanwhile,
provides
here, let's
multiple
kind of just take a
certification
look
and
again at the
licensing
defense.
options for students. Visit
499 yards
huntsville-isd.org. It's a
of
great day to
defense,
be a Hornet.
offense
We're building
allowed, I should say,
champions,
by the
everyone,
defense.
every day.
261 rushing yards. and
Your home
238
for Hornets
passing
football.
yards.
Presented by Bill Vic Ford.
All right, I think we should be back, folks. Apologies on...
I'm Jerry Larson at Reliable Auto Parts, your auto parts plus store in Huntsville, Texas. Having great products, excellent quality, and outstanding prices. This is what you can expect from Reliable Parts, where you can purchase all your car care products, maintenance supplies, and auto parts. Our services and in-house store offerings are designed to keep your vehicle and motorized machine.
All right, apologies for that.
11th Street, Huntsville, 295-5747.
Hi, I'm Michael Murray with Murray
We'll take a quick
Insurance and
break,
Financial
and we will
Services.
be
Our
back
family
after this
agency
here on the
has
Hornet
been
Nation Broadcast
representing the
Network.
Huntsville and Walker County area since the 1930s. It can help you prepare for your future with your financial planning needs, along with the unexpected with life, health, long-term care, and disability insurance needs. Please give us a call at 1-800-695-LIFE. Our email is mike@murrayservices.net. Eat 'em up, cat.
KSAM Hornet football continues.
Welcome to Osprey Storage Huntsville, your go-to solution for convenient storage needs. With drive-up accessible units for easy loading and unloading. Sizes ranging from 5x5 to 12x5.
Welcome back here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. I think we have all of these issues figured out once again. So let's try and see if we can go back to our sideline reporter here for a couple minutes in Emma Sims. Emma, let's just, again, take a look, like we were trying to say earlier, about the defense for Huntsville, allowing 499 yards total through the air and on the ground, 261 rushing yards. And good thing is, at least for them, they were able to force a couple of turnovers by interceptions. But the 261 rushing yards you cannot allow if you're going to try to win a ball game.
I mean, like I've been saying, it really just comes down to the defense getting those interceptions and pushing that line back and keeping that quarterback away, and then also just going to those receivers and just making sure that they're not getting that ball, like I said, those interceptions. Then you also have, like I said, the offensive side, again, which is with those rushing yards that you have to keep looking at. And with all that combined, that's really going to have you a win right there.
And one other thing, and something that we've highlighted and has been a theme, especially last year it was a theme as well, is the penalties. And we'll talk about this as well throughout the broadcast, Houston. 11 penalties for 125 yards total. First off, you can't commit that many penalties, but 125 yards that you have lost due to a penalty in a ball game is a recipe for disaster, no matter who you are, where you are, what level of football you play. It does not matter. 11 penalties of 100-plus yards, that's going to kill you every time.
Of course. I'm a coach's kid, and I haven't really seen those numbers that high before. And so really what Huntsville needs to do is just keep those numbers down. Like I said, I just really haven't seen them that high ever, and it's very rare. So for Huntsville to keep up that win and come out with a win today, they need to keep those penalties down as well.
All right, thank you, Emma. We will go to you throughout the ball game here tonight. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have the keys to victory with Houston right after this. It's Hornet football on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. Back here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. Jordan Smith here alongside me is Houston Hardcastle as we continue on with the Charlie's Used Cars pre-game show. Just a couple minutes here before we turn things over to the countdown to kickoff, sponsored by Walker County Federal Credit Union. But Houston, taking a look at tonight's ball game, kind of give us the keys right quick to a victory for Huntsville to go back-to-back years with a win against the Vikings, and also try to turn things around from the tough loss against Brenham last week.
Yeah, Coach Southern kind of talked about it. You got to limit those turnovers. 2 interceptions last week that proved very costly, putting your defense in a couple of bad situations. We kind of talked about it a little bit before. You just can't put your defense in a situation like that where you turn the ball over at your own 10-yard line, 20-yard line, and give their offense a good chance at the end zone, because when you do that, you're putting yourself and your defense in a bad situation. And when that happens, you're going to give the other team a great opportunity to score. So limiting those turnovers and making sure that you dominate the points of attack that you know your team is good at. With Huntsville, that's going to be the ground game. If the ground game is successful today and the defense plays well today, it's going to be an astounding victory for the Hornets.
Teams are just about ready to get on the field for tonight's ball game here. Again, apologies for the technical difficulties so far throughout this one, but we should be good and ready to go here now. But again, kind of taking a look, and a good note here, something that I think may get overlooked a little bit, at least was, I think, by some people, the fact that Huntsville has gotten to start basically their first 4 games, or almost, or 3 or 4 games at home. You have the scrimmage, now you had last week against Brenham, now you have tonight against Bryan. That's a very favorable outcome to start the year, especially with the fact that, you know, obviously last year because of construction delays, you weren't sure when you were getting into this place. They finally did get in, but now you're actually in your own home place to start the year for a good amount of, a good at least chunk of this beginning part of the schedule. Not a bad way to start off.
Yeah, no, and it was a great crowd for all those games. Last week against Brenham, both sides were completely packed out. Obviously, Brenham, all props to them. They brought their crowd out, and they were loud, and they were making noise as well. Every time they scored, their band would go off. The fans were up and about, just jumping at the throat of the Hornets here. And, you know, Huntsville's obviously bringing a good crowd out tonight. We look down in the stands. It looks like pretty much all the seats are filled. There's still a few people filing in. There's still about 18 minutes to go until kickoff. Obviously, the crowds are still kind of filing in here late. But, you know, it is a huge advantage to be able to play at home, especially in a stadium like this, a brand new stadium that's been constructed for this community. And it's just great to see that the fans do come out and support this team. And yeah, that is something that's not as talked about, is that Huntsville is going to be able to play these first few games at home. And I think with the crowd behind them, it should be good.
All right, that'll do it for Charlie's Used Cars pregame show. Coming up after this, it's Walker County Federal Credit Union countdown to kickoff, as we will take a look at everything you need, starters and more, heading into tonight's ball game. It's your Huntsville Hornets and the Bryan Vikings coming up after this here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. Back here at Huntsville ISD Stadium as they sing what I believe is the Texas national anthem, if you will, for all you people who think it's the national anthem. We love Texas, but otherwise. Either way, it's time to take a look at your game time weather forecast as we start the Walker County Federal Credit Union countdown to kickoff, as we are just about 13 and a half minutes away from kickoff here in Huntsville, Texas. Overcast skies, a little bit of potential storm, at least it would feel like it rolling in, but no rain in the forecast whatsoever until Tuesday in the area. 76 degrees, again, cloudy skies. There's a little bit of wind. We'll have to see how that kind of factors into things later on in the ball game. Currently blowing from left to right at the moment. If you're seeing this on the video stream, it's blowing right towards your face here, and basically right towards our face as well. Just kind of taking a look again. It's nice weather, a nice atmosphere. It's not, hotter than blue blazes like it has been for the last 3 months of our lives, with it being 105 plus, it feels like. So at least a good night weather-wise for some football here in the gateway to the Piney Woods.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's a nice day. You got those overcast skies, but other than that, it's definitely looking like a nice atmosphere here for a football game. Friday night football, you just can't beat it, especially down here in this Piney Woods area. Like I said, we talked about it a little bit before. Good crowd out here in Huntsville, Texas tonight as your Hornets take on the Bryan Vikings. We're looking for a good football game here to be played today, and I think the team's just excited and ready to go as they line up to run out of the tunnel over here.
And you see the players coming out, getting ready, like you said, to run out of the tunnel here in just a couple of minutes from now. We're in the black pants with the green helmet and the new green top. It's a new top that has been used here so far this season. It's a little different with the sense that it's a white collar, a little bit clearer text for the name and the numbers as well. So that's at least good for us, at least, for our vantage point. But a little bit different design. Not too different, but just a touch. It is a nice look, though, I will say.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice look. I like how the uniforms look, especially from this vantage point. It will be advantageous to us up here in the broadcast booth with those white collars. Maybe we'll be able to see those horse collar tackles a little better, it should be a good game here in Huntsville today as the teams warm up down there and just excited to get started.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will take a look at the high school scoreboard from around the area here in Huntsville, and really, or not in Huntsville, but around the district that Huntsville is a part of. PNG, a whole bunch, and more in the district. So we'll take a break, and we'll do that as part of our countdown to kickoff coming up right after this. It's Hornet football here in the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. Back here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports, as we take a look around the high school scoreboard, and we take a look at some of the other games going on around the district here. We'll start off with PNG. They have a game tonight against Beaumont United. That one kicking off at 7 o'clock, just like us, in about 10 minutes or so from now. Elsewhere in the district for Huntsville, you got a lot of teams who are really trying to, I guess, make a name for themselves, get the early season wins, because, once you get to district, it's going to be a tough one this year for everybody else. Taking a look at Splendora, what they've got going up here tonight, they have got themselves a game against Liberty. Splendora going into the game tonight, 1-0, Liberty 0-1, a 7:30 kick between the two sides. Again, that coming up at 7:30 for them. As we take a look at the rest of the district, one of the newer high schools in the Houston area, New Caney West Fork, has themselves a game tonight against a we'll call them a neighbor to West Fork in Cleveland. They're on the road there. 7 o'clock kickoff tonight for them. Both of them looking for their first wins on the season. Elsewhere, Montgomery has themselves a matchup against Caney Creek tonight. 7 p.m. kick on the road at Caney Creek for them out in the Conroe area. And then you also take a look at Dayton. Dayton has themselves a matchup with Kingwood Park, tonight at 7 p.m. out on the road down in Houston, Texas. Nederland on the scoreboard as well as they face off against West Orange Stark. Both of them 1-0 to start their season. They look to be 2-0. 7 o'clock kick for them here tonight. And finally here in the district, Lake Creek. They are taking on the St. Thomas Catholic Eagles. A game against a TAPS program, but always one that is a fan favorite for those folks down at St. Thomas, I know, because I broadcasted their games for 2 years. But that game, both teams actually without a win on the season so far. Kind of shocking to see that Lake Creek didn't get the win to start the season. That is a 7 p.m. kick down in H-Town at St. Thomas High School. We'll have to keep those updates for you as the game progresses. But right quick, we will head to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will have the starting lineups for you and then kickoff after that. It's Huntsville, and it's Bryan, and it's next here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Bet here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports, as we bring you the starters for the ball game here tonight for both of these sides as part of the Walker County Federal Credit Union countdown to kickoff. Let's start for the visitors in the Bryan Vikings. Taking a look at their defense. Starting defensive ends is Chester Gooden and Real Rawls, as well as the nose guard in Jaden Morris. The Sam linebacker in Wyatt Bryan, the Mike linebacker in Keonvian Gilbert, the Will linebacker in Carson Dodd, and the backs, the corners, Wyatt Brown, Troy Odell, William Hilburn, Talon DeVault, and Sebrin Lowry. That's the starting defense for the Bryan Vikings. For their offense, you have wide receivers DeAndre Williams, Terrence Lewis, and Tyree Love. The offensive lineman, Julian Ford at left tackle, RJ Urita at left guard. At center, Nathan Surley. At right guard, Samaj Edwards. At right tackle, Jacob Castoria. At running back is Titus Runnels. At fullback is Cameron Glade. And at quarterback is Boone Turner. Now the starters for your Huntsville Hornets. We'll start with the offense. At left tackle, Seth Johnson, followed by the left guard in Caleb Williams. At the center, and Lasleo Moreno. Right guard, Brian Parker Jr. Right tackle in Trey Williams. The tight end in Jarius Singletary. Wide receiver in Savion Conte. Wide receiver Hunter Lorenz. Wide receiver Josh Stanley, those being the starting three receivers. At tailback is Trayshawn Brown, a kid who really made a name for himself last season and has made himself a name again to start the season here today as the lights start flashing here in Huntsville ISD Stadium as we get ready for kickoff around the corner. Austin Taylor, the starting quarterback for your Huntsville Hornets. On the defensive side, you take a look at the guys lining up in the 4-3 defense. Zach Moss on the outside with Jarius Singletary, as well Bradford and Lewis, the tackle and nose guard in the middle. Jones, Cleveland, Norman all make up the linebacker positions. Carroll, Phelps, Pryor, and Scott III, Kenneth Scott III, make up the secondary for your Huntsville Hornets. All right, before we get things going here, any final thoughts from you, Houston, before we get ready for the national anthem?
Just need to come out strong, do the Huntsville Hornets. They just need to come out and play their brand of football, which is smash mouth, running the ball. As we saw last week, the running game worked. Just keep doing that, build on that momentum, get some defensive stops against the Bryan Vikings, and you'll come out with a win here in Huntsville today.
So now Huntsville's out on the field. Bryan is out on the field as we are just about ready to get things going. I believe we are going to have the national anthem here in just a little bit. But for now, I think we're going to go ahead and send it away. That has been your countdown to kickoff presented by Walker County Federal Credit Union. When we come back, it is kickoff between the Bryan Vikings and your Huntsville Hornets as Huntsville looks to go 1-1, get their first win on the season, and turn things around to start 2024. Will they be able to do it, or will they fall victim and go 0-2? We'll find out in about a few hours from now. But first, this commercial break. It's Huntsville Hornet football on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. We welcome you to Huntsville ISD Stadium for tonight's 5A matchup here in the Lone Star State, the gateway to the East Texas Piney Woods, for this matchup featuring the Bryan Vikings and your Huntsville Hornets. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports, here on 101.7 KSAM-FM, the KSAM mobile app, or if you are listening to us via the YouTube stream. My name is Jordan Smith. Alongside me is Houston Hardcastle. Down on the sideline, we will get to her as the game progresses, is our sideline reporter for tonight in Emma Sims. Final thing here, Houston, as they get ready for coin toss before the ball game starts, how important is it going to be to see a passing game tonight, at least a better one than we saw last week against Brenham?
Oh, and it's paramount. And I mean, Huntsville's always been known for their running offense, just running the pound and ground on the ground, as we saw last week. But the passing game's got to be better. You know, the passing game is really what caused that early turnover and giving Brenham the good field position early to allow Huntsville to go down 15-0. That turnover was paramount in the slow start for the Huntsville Hornets. And so just if the passing game isn't there tonight, just go back to what you know. Go back to your brand of offense. Really just pound the ground into the ground. Use Trayshawn Brown. Use every single running back you've got. The freshman Zaya Dolphy, he had a couple good plays last week. Just go back to Hornet football if all else fails.
Just a reminder for those watching on the video broadcast tonight that the ball game is being presented in 2K Quad HD with a 4K Ultra Enhanced HD presentation. Closed captioning is also available for the hearing impaired. So it looks like Huntsville will get the ball to start things off here tonight. They will return, which means that they will have to kick to start the second half, something to keep an eye on depending on how the first half goes offensively. Back deep to return for the Huntsville Hornets. Braylon Phelps is back deep to receive as the lone man back there. Maybe a chance for Zay Adolphi back there as well, standing about the 10-yard line. Jafet Gonzalez, the sophomore kicker, ready to send this one away as we get ready for Texas high school football Friday Night Lights on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. This one end over end, up to the 20. Adolphi with it. He grabs it in a weird hop. Breaks one tackle, gets a stiff on right around the face mask. Coach Southern wanting a face mask call as he is brought out of bounds at around the 30-yard line. We'll see where they officially mark it. Looks to be about the 31. Huntsville moving right to left across your radio dials as they start on their own 31-yard line to get things started here in the ball game. Like we said, Austin Taylor, the lead signal caller here in the ball game tonight for Huntsville, coming off a game 5 of 18 for 28% through the air, 78 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Going to need to look for a big game from him tonight, but instead, here's Trayshawn Brown, first play, stiff arms. He's got the speed to the outside, almost to the 40, down to the 38. A gain of 7 on the play. What an explosive start, just found a seam on the outside, Houston, and was able to make good work out of it.
Yeah, and that's Huntsville football for you, getting the ball to the outside sticks and just running it straight up the field. Trayshawn Brown able to get a 7-yard gain, putting Huntsville in a second and manageable here.
Another handoff to the outside on the right side of the line of scrimmage. Just gets enough for the first down. 4-yard gain by Trayshawn Brown. Move the chains. That is a first down for your Huntsville Hornets.
Looking like the same as last week, just pounding the ball into the defense, just able to get another first down on the ground.
And Mocha turning it law first down, brings up this handoff here for Brown to the outside across midfield and stumbles his way, they will say at midfield. And so it'll be a gain of 8 on the play to make it 2nd and 2 here in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home first quarter.
Yeah, a couple of second and short situations here for Huntsville.
2 receivers to the outside, shotgun snap to Taylor. They will hand it off to the back. Going to the outside, first down, a whole lot more. Breaks his seam across the 35, stumbles his way down to the 33-yard line. Zay Adolphi, the freshman, getting the legs churning to the 33 on Bryan's side of the 50, and another Mocha turning it law first down. Here it's a hurry-up offense.
He just brings so much electricity to this offense as a freshman.
Flip the formation on first down as Adolphi once again in the backfield, but is stopped. A loss of 3 on the play. First loss of yards for Huntsville here tonight as it brings up 2nd down and 13. 10-18 left to go in the first quarter of play here in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home first quarter. No score so far in Huntsville.
Yeah, and these are the situations you don't want to be in if you're Coach Southern. 2nd and long, 3rd and long. It's just not an ideal situation to put your offense in.
3 receivers to the far sideline here on 2nd down. Taylor to the outside. Quick screen pass. That one's caught and immediately gets blasted, does the receiver in Josh Stanley. It'll make it 3rd down and 13.
And the Bryan Vikings read that play from the start. They saw Stanley there in the flat and were able to make a huge hit, causing an incompletion, bringing up another 3rd and long for the Huntsville Hornets.
Taking a look down the field is Taylor over the middle. That one is caught on the screen. Won't be enough for a first down as it's just short. But on the catch, Savion Conte will be just a yard short, a gain of 12 on the play. Down to the 24-yard line, 4th down and 1. Here comes the field goal unit.
Yeah, and you thought with that initial hurry-up that Coach Southern was going to go for it here on 4th and 1, but it looks like he's going to send out the field goal unit. Oh, no, it looks like they're going for it.
So they're going to go for it instead, and they got exactly what they wanted. Neutral zone infraction coming up here as a flag gets thrown on the play.
Looks like it may have been Chester Gooden, the defensive lineman. number 50. That's Tyler Payne, the junior linebacker, D lineman, just getting a little antsy there, giving Huntsville an easy first down.
So now a first down inside the red zone. That flag laundry on the field brought to you by Ames Agencies, as they're now in the Murray's Insurance and Financial Services red zone. This one screaming across to the 10-yard line. Might be enough. We'll see. It's plenty close, though. And it looks like it'll be just short by about a yard. A 9-yard gain on the play by Braylon Phelps. Sets up a 2nd and 1 on the Bryan 10-yard line. 9 minutes left to go in this first quarter. No score, but Huntsville threatening on their first offensive drive of the ball game.
Yeah, and it's been a great drive here so far, just pounding the rock and controlling the tempo of the game.
Handoff Brown up the gut. Able to get the first down, so a goal-to-go situation as he gets to the 6, a 4-yard gain on the play. And that'll be enough for another Mocha Attorneys at Law first down.
And again, like we talked about pregame, this is the smash mouth style of football that Huntsville is really known for, and they've really been showing out today in that ground game. It's been really impressive from the Hornets so far.
Up the gut, can't get enough as there goes the pile stopping him on the run. But does get a couple yards gain on the play. It was Austin Taylor who tried to sneak there, but to no avail. Gets to the 4, so his 2nd down and goal on the Bryan 4-yard line. 8:15 left to go in the opening quarter. Still no score, but again, Huntsville 4 yards away from changing that.
Yeah, just a QB power play straight up the middle. Taylor knew he wanted to tuck it and run the entire way. D lineman for the Bryan Vikings able to get through that offensive line and cause a gain of only 2.
Taylor in a deep shotgun, has a man in motion now, fakes a handoff to keep himself up the gut, and a 4-yard touchdown run for Austin Taylor. The linemen parting the seas as wide as they could have there. Couldn't have been an easier running lane for the quarterback.
Oh, no doubt about it. Those big guys up front got Austin Taylor all the room he needed. The motion threw the Bryan Viking linebackers off. They chased him the entire way. Austin Taylor tucks it into the end zone for a Hornet touchdown. The Hornets are going to start this one off hot on their first offensive drive.
The touchdown brought to you by MRC Creekside is now to get the Nelson Amaya Collision Center extra point try. Caleb Kulak in for the point after attempt. Snap, hold, kick. Easily through the upright, splitting them down the middle. And it's 7-0 Huntsville. 7:49 left to go in the opening quarter of play. Huntsville leads Bryan by 1 score. Back after this on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network.
It seems like we always plan for everything except the future. And today, more than ever, planning for the future just makes sense. I'm Andy Graves, owner of Heritage Oak Home in Huntsville. With our pre-arrangement services, you can give your loved ones the greatest gift. Then rest assured, every detail is taken care of according to your wishes. And should life changes occur, your pre-arrangement plans, they're flexible and fully transferable. Visit us at 1080 I-45 South in Huntsville or online at heritageoakfh.com. Hi, folks. Clint back here with Weezer Chevy in Huntsville, and we have the deal that you've been waiting for. Tahoe, Suburban.
Remember, when we go to break, you gotta go to the commercial screen.
You're right. Sorry, I was typing for
You're good. You're good.
I got it.
Yeah, just next time. Whenever.
0.9% financing and rebates up to $8,000 off select vehicles. Come Weezer Chevy in Huntsville for the best selection and deals in the area. Or visit us online at WeezerHuntsville.com, home of the bottom line.
Back here at Huntsville ISD Stadium as they are getting ready to kick this one off, and well, they'll have to wait as the ball falls off of the tee. There's that little bit of wind that we talked about, Houston, before the game, blowing from right to left, but if you're listening to us on the radio, it's blowing straight at you instead of left or right across your radio dial. So it's kind of at a weird side angle for these players as it did fall on its side, so he explains that as Kulak will send this one over to the opposing 15, waits for the bounce, does Terrence Lewis. Now he'll go to the opposite sideline. He's across the 35-40. He has speed, tight roping his way, but is nudged out of bounds by a Hornet and will be marked out of bounds. They will give him plenty favorable field position right at midfield, so a very, very good starting point for the Bryan Vikings offensively. 7:42 left to go in the first quarter of play. Huntsville leads 7-0 as the Hornet defense on the field for the first time tonight.
Yeah, the Huntsville special teams just tried to catch him off guard there with the pooch kick, but unfortunately gave the Bryan Vikings some pretty good field position down here at the 50.
First and 10, Bryan moving left to right across your radio dials. Shotgun formation for Turner. A little bit of a weird snap. He had to fall on it. Kind of got away from him, and that'll be a loss of 7 on the play, all the way back to their own 43-yard line. A little bit of a lucky first play there if you're the Hornet defense.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Hornet defense was definitely looking to swarm to that ball. Thankfully, the quarterback for Bryan was able to fall on it. Boone Turner, the senior quarterback, just that senior leadership to know to fall on the ball and not try to make something out of nothing.
Again, this is a Hornet defense that got 2 turnovers, both by interception last week against Brenham. Shotgun snap here on second down and plenty long. This one wide, right outside, and a boomstick hit by McCorrick Norman on the outside. It'll be a loss of 3 on the play, down to the 41. Actually called a loss of 2 on the play. What a hit by Norman in the backfield.
Whew, no kidding. The senior linebacker was looking for a hit there. Just caught short there by the Bryan Vikings. Immediately recognizing the play, able to put them in a 3rd and a country mile situation here. 3rd and 19.
Titus Runnels, the one who made the reception, the running back. Now fake handoff once again, Turner. He's going deep down the near sideline. Wide open man. Makes the catch in stride, Terrence Lewis, and is in the end zone for 6. A 59-yard touchdown. And Bryan's an extra point away from tying this thing up in less than a minute.
Looks like there was some miscommunication there in the secondary that really allowed Terrence Lewis to get wide open there on the street. It looked like just a straight go route. But you can't give up a play like that on 3rd and 19. Huntsville just really shooting themselves in the foot there.
On for the extra point, Jafet Gonzalez. Snap, hold, kick. A little bit of a line drive, but still through the upright. 7-all with 6:24 left to go in the first quarter of play. Tied at 7. We come back after this quick commercial break here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. Back here at Huntsville ISD Stadium, a 7-all ball game, 6:24 left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home first quarter of play. This one is short kick, but once again grabbed right about the 20 for Adolphe. Near sideline, tight ropes to the 50. He is blown out of bounds by Jafet Gonzalez, the kicker, but there is a flag on the play right at about the 42-yard line. I wonder if there's maybe an offsides coming.
It looks like this one's going to be on Huntsville. We'll get the call from the white hat here. Well, we were going to get the call from the white hat. Had to do a little bit more deliberating.
All sides, kicking team, number 8. 5-yard penalty will be enforced from the dead ball spot. First down, Huntsville.
So Huntsville, instead of starting at midfield, they will start on the Bryan 45-yard line. Very good spot there if you're Huntsville after what was giving up a very good spot to start their first defensive drive of the ball game at midfield. They now start again on the Bryan 45, moving right to left across your radio dials. Taylor in shotgun formation, 2 receivers to the far sideline, 1 safety back deep for the Vikings. Handoff to Tayshawn Brown. A flag down at the line of scrimmage, as that was a 9-yard gain on the play, but I have a feeling that is coming back. A potential holding call here on Brian Parker Jr.
Another flag for Huntsville. We talked about it last week. Huntsville racking up the penalties. You can't put yourself in these first and long situations. It just puts your offense in a bad spot.
Here's the call.
Holding offense number 70. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot.
That flag on the field brought to you by AIM Agencies. So it'll set up a first down and 20 now because of the penalty. 6:12 left to go and counting now as they restart the clock. In the first quarter of play, tied at 7 here at the Heritage Oak Funeral Home first quarter. Man in motion to the other side is Jarius Singletary. Handoff here to the back, but stopped in the backfield, ran right into the lineman and wasn't able to get anything going was Zay Adolphi. That'll be a loss of 3 on the play to the 42-yard line. So bring up second down and 23.
Second and a country mile, and again, you can't put yourself in this situation. Number 6 for the Bryan Vikings, Taven DeVault, the senior defensive back, really just recognizing that run there, shooting through the A-gap and able to stop Huntsville for a loss and put them in a second and long.
Shotgun snap after Taylor claps his hands. Adolphi up the gut, breaks his seam. He's got grass in front of him. 15, 10, 5, and is brought down with the track speed of the corner in Sabron Lowry, the senior. It is close to a touchdown, not enough, but what a run by Adolphi as that brings it inside the Murray Insurance and Financial Services red zone after a Mocha attorneys at law. Big first down to the 3-yard line.
Whew, what a run by Zay Adolphi. The big lineman up front able to grade a huge hole, just use those cutting lanes and able to get into the red zone.
A 50-yard run for Adolphi there. And now you got a bunch formation, almost a different victory formation, if you will, as they try to QB tush push, if you will. Bringing that back. He's actually in the end zone, says the far official. A 3-yard tush push. How about that for Huntsville to retake the lead?
Whew, that's the first time I've ever seen a play like that from the 3-yard line. Huntsville just really trusting Austin Taylor, able to churn his legs into the end zone. Wow, what a push from the offensive lineman. Huntsville, another hot start on offense.
4:51 left to go in the opening quarter of play. As after the MRC Creekside touchdown, it'll be Caleb Kulak to try the Nelson Amaya Collision Center point after. All personnel now back on the field for Huntsville. They got all 11 men. Snap, hold, kick through the uprights. Easy as pie here, as that'll take us to a 14-7 lead. We'll stay here, Houston. While we got a moment, let's thank some of our wonderful sponsors who make this broadcast possible.
This season of Huntsville Hornet football is presented by Bill Fick Ford, no bull, just good deals. AB Squared Self-Storage, your local go-to self-storage facility, and Charlie's Used Cars. Customer satisfaction is our #1 priority.
While we have a moment, let's head down to our sideline reporter in Emma Sims for tonight. Emma, what did you see there on that huge run, that 50-yard run by Adolphi that was able to just find an open seam on the outside?
Guys, I really wish y'all could be down here right now just to feel the energy down here. It's just amazing. And that run, yeah, it was a beautiful run, like I was saying. And I just have no words. Like, it was just beautiful. He was open. And then right at that last second, whenever Bryan got caught up with him, but I mean, it was just beautiful. There's no other words for it.
Thank you, Emma. We'll check back in with you as the game progresses, as that one gets kicked out of bounds. So because of that, penalty marker comes flying. And again, you can't have those penalties. We talked about it during pregame, talked about it with Emma, talked about it with you, Houston. 11 penalties last week for 125 yards. You cannot win a ball game and have those things happen.
And there's been a couple, I mean, almost every kickoff this game has been near the sideline, so you almost wonder if Huntsville should just start letting those go.
Now again, part of it, like we mentioned earlier, the wind's still blowing towards our faces, so it's been pushing to the near sideline, to Huntsville's sideline. So that you could use that as a potential reason as well. So just something to watch for, but I think because of that, they're going to re-kick.
Ooh, re-kick here for Huntsville.
Looked like the penalty, I guess, was declined, so they'll re-kick instead. Try to get better field position, especially after the last return where they were able to get all the way to the 50.
Yeah, let's see if Bryan can come out with a better return here. Interesting call to decline the penalty and not get, you usually you get the ball at the 40-yard line, which is arguably some of the best starting field position after a kickoff. Maybe they just like what they see at a Huntsville special teams. see what they do here.
Fans showing out pretty well as per usual here at Huntsville ISD Stadium. Almost full seats on this sideline. The student section loud and proud just in front of us. As once again, Caleb Kulak sending this one away. Teed up at the 35. Now this one punched over the middle. Bounces off of Viking. So that just had to fall on it really quickly. Kind of interesting move there. Something that wouldn't be allowed in the NFL nowadays with the new adaptation of these XFL rules. But nice to see a little bit of a line drive there on purpose. Kind of a de facto slash weird maneuver of an onside kick.
Yeah, almost like a squib kick.
Yeah.
It was a little interesting, but, you know, smart of the linebacker for the Bryan Vikings, Jamarcus Joshua, the senior linebacker, smart enough to fall on it. Don't be a hero. Don't try to return that ball. You're on defense for a reason.
Bryan will start on their own 43-yard line, moving left to right across your radio dials. 2 receivers to the far sideline, 2 safeties in formation for Huntsville. Fake handoff returner, cross right over the middle. This one's caught on the speedy run is Lewis, who got the touchdown earlier and races all the way to the Huntsville 31-yard line. First down and a whole lot more for the Vikings as they run a no-huddle offense with 4.5 minutes left to go in the opening quarter of play. 14-7 the score. Hornets lead the Vikings. Shotgun formation once again, Turner. This time he will hand it off to the back in Javalen Wade, the junior back. Will only get a couple, maybe one on the play to the 30-yard line. 2nd and 9 coming up.
Good stop there on the run by the Huntsville Hornet defense, able to bring up a 2nd and 9 here for the Bryan Vikings. Good, like I said, good run defense, able to stop the run. Giving up a couple big pass plays, though, that could be a problem going forward for Huntsville. See if they can limit that here on this drive.
Shotgun formation for Turner here on 2nd and 9. 2 receivers to the far side. They try to go to the near side. Incomplete. That one, the throw offline. Terrence Lewis, the intended target, and playing in coverage there, the junior corner. And Kenneth Scott, the third, brings up 3rd down and 9 with just under 4 minutes left to go in the opening quarter.
Student section, the Huntsville Hornet crowd here up on their feet for the 3rd down. First 3rd down here for Bryan. Everyone up on their feet. Let's see if they can get him off the field here.
3rd and 9. Ball on the Hornet 30-yard line. No low snap. Turner has to pick it up off the turf. Jumping up for it. One-handed catch. Unbelievable catch by Terrence Lewis. Odell Beckham Jr.-esque as it falls into the end zone for a touchdown. They're an extra point away from tying things up with 3:49 left in the opening quarter.
Man, you talk about an incredible catch. Wow. I mean, he just threw it up there. The quarterback did. Just threw it up there and hoped his receiver was there. Goes up and makes an incredible catch. Terrence Lewis just putting a stamp on this game here in the first quarter. Wow.
In coverage there with Kenneth Scott, the third, and give him credit. He had good coverage, just you can't beat a catch like that.
Yeah, better offense will always win the day.
Tied up at 14 as the extra point is good for Bryan. We've got an offensive showcase here in the first quarter. 3:49 left to go in the first quarter of play. Tied at 14. Back after this on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. 3:49 left to go in the opening quarter of play. We are tied up at 14 apiece. Here in Huntsville, Texas, it has been an offensive showing. Back and forth we go. Bryan already doubling their points from last season's matchup as they were only able to get 1 touchdown to break the scoreless ball game late for them in that fourth quarter. Last year, they already have 14 in the first 9 minutes of this one. Kickoff underway for Bryan. This one, longest kick we've seen, doesn't go out of bounds, but goes out the back of the end zone for a touchback.
And you could tell Huntsville wasn't ready for that. They didn't even have a man deep in the end zone. With the way the kickoffs have been going tonight, I don't know if it's a scheme thing or it could be, like we talked about, could be affected by the wind, but a lot of the kickoffs have been short, near about the 20 and 10-yard line, so Huntsville didn't even have a deep man back to receive that kick. Goes out of the back of the end zone. Huntsville's going to start from their own 25.
14 all here in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home. First quarter, 3:49 left to go in the opening quarter of play as Huntsville, 1st and 10 on their own 25, right to left across their radio dials. A flag on the field, which obviously means a false start on Huntsville.
False start, offense, number 50. Never got set. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
They call that on Trey Williams, the junior offensive lineman, saying he never got set on the line. And so because of that, back him up 5 yards, add another penalty to that one. I want to say that's, number 3 already in the ball game for them.
Yeah, just putting themselves in, like I said, shooting themselves in the foot here. Just can't put yourself in these situations. Thankfully, it hasn't hurt them too much so far.
1st and 15, moving right to left across your radio dials. Here's a handoff to the outside. Defense is right there to stop him, though, in the backfield as Jarius Singletary was in the running back position. Just couldn't get any upfield progression on that run there. Actually, it was David Brown on the run. It'll be a loss of about 4 on the play. So now instead of first and 10, then went to 1st and 15. Now it's 2nd and 19 on their own 16-yard line.
Ooh, you want to say 2nd and 19 is not a situation you want to be in, but with the way this game's been going, this could be a good thing for Huntsville.
Handoff here on 2nd down, just trying to get back to the original line of scrimmage once again. Brown on the run, marching his way to the 22-yard line. A decent gain will make it 3rd down and 13.
Yeah, just trying to get back to the original line of scrimmage there. You don't want to throw an incompletion on 2nd and 19 because then it brings up 3rd and 19. So just trying to get a little bit back on the ground game is Huntsville. Going to bring up about a 3rd and 12, maybe 11. 13 is what they officially call it. Let's see what they do here.
Shotgun snap here for Taylor, looking deep down the field. Might try to go over the middle of the field. He does, floating. Trip on the play. It will be caught and then missed. No flag on the play. Savion Conte was the one that was going to be thrown to. He had the corner beat, but was tripped. However, it wasn't like the ball was right there within range. However, there is now a flag on the play, but it's not where the contact was made, I believe. I think it's towards the line of scrimmage. There it is. Lasalilo Moreno, the junior offensive lineman, was called for an ineligible man down the field. So part of the reason why there was no pass interference, granted, it would have been offsetting, it would have been 4th down anyways. So now Huntsville will have to punt, starting inside their own 22. So what should be very favorable field position for Bryan here. Getting it off just in time at about the 10-yard line. A high kick. Doesn't get much horizontal distance as that stays on their own side of the 50 for Huntsville to the 42-yard line. While they change possession right quick, let's thank a couple more of our wonderful sponsors who make this broadcast possible.
Yeah, and like I said, with the broadcast wouldn't be possible without the folks at Diana K. Barnes State Farm Insurance, focusing on auto, home, life, farm and ranch, business, pet and tractor insurance in Huntsville, Texas, and surrounding areas. Huntsville Independent School District. It's a great day to be a Hornet. We are building champions, everyone, every day. And finally, let's thank Hartfield Florists, personalizing your events since 1957.
So Bryan will start on the Hornet 42-yard line, moving left to right across your radio dials. 2:50 left to go in the opening quarter of play. Tied up at 14 here in the Gateway, the East Texas, Piney Woods in Huntsville, Texas. Couple hesitations now, shotgun snap, handoff to the running back. He's met after a few yards by the bull rush of the Hornet defense. On the run there, Titus Runnels, the senior back, gets a gain of about 7 on the play. Then I'll back it up and say 6 to the 36-yard line.
Probably the best run so far for Bryan tonight. Sets him up in a 2nd and short. See if they can take advantage of it here.
2 receivers to the far sideline. Fakes a handoff going up the field. Intercepted by Huntsville. Turnover. Kenneth Scott III with a Superman dive to get the ball right back.
And he was looking over at Terrence Lewis once again, the absolute game breaker that has been giving the Huntsville Hornets headaches all night. Unable to find him there. It's a bad throw. It's offline. Kenneth Scott with the interception. Turnover. Huntsville's got the ball.
You know, this is a guy in Kenneth Scott III who really started to make some noise because he had to fill in because of injury last year for a good half of the season, that back half of the year. And he was really starting to make a name for himself, worked his way into the starting role this season. And you see another reason why there. Handoff immediately met with pressure. A tackle for loss in the backfield. Chester Gooden, the junior defensive lineman, is able to force a loss of 3 on the play to the Huntsville 22-yard line. as they started the drive on their own 25.
And it looks like freshman Zay Adolphi's taking the snaps under center here. Going to be interesting to see how Coach Rodney Southern uses him in this offense.
Listed as a freshman quarterback, he will hand it off himself. It'll be a run by Trayshawn Brown, not able to do much, so in fact they just say right back to the original line of scrimmage. They're trying to switch up packages and such here, like you said, with the different quarterback formations. This is something, this isn't anything new that we've seen from head coach Rodney Southern over the years, especially last year.
Yeah, put yourself in a 3rd and long situation, though. I mean, when did both defenses decide to start showing up? I thought this was going to be a super high-scoring game, but both defenses have really locked in on these past few drives.
2 receivers of the far sideline, 3rd down and long. Adolphi thought about slinging it down the field. Now he will. Nobody is there, though, so he has to throw it out of bounds. He was hit as he was falling to the ground, though. The offensive linemen are there to try to back up his quarterback, and now there's a potential scrimmage. No, we'll be all right. No fights happening tonight here on Friday Night Football, but a little bit of chirpiness, and you get that with some high emotions. A situation like that, late hits, what have you, you got to defend your quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looked like it was 24 that maybe pushed him out of bounds there. Camelo Brooks, the senior defensive back. Adolphi thought he got pushed a little late out of bounds. Thankfully, neither team's got too deep into it, and no one gets ejected.
Because of the incomplete pass, 4th and 13, so a punt by Kulak is deflected, and it'll be even more favorable field position for Bryan as they will start inside the Huntsville 30-yard line. 1:01 left to go in the opening quarter of play, tied at 14, and Bryan with very, very favorable field position and a chance to take the lead before the quarter ends.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was number 4, Troy Odell, the junior defensive back that was able to get in there. While we've got a minute, Jordan, let's thank a couple more of our wonderful sponsors. Walker County Federal Credit Union, serving Walker County since 1957, your full-service community credit union member in UCA. Northside Baptist Church, growing people in Christ to reach others for Christ.
1st and 10 on the Huntsville 26-yard line. Bryan moving left to right across your radio dials. In shotgun formation is Boone Turner with a couple receivers to his left side. Trying to get back up to the line of scrimmage. Not getting much, though, on the play. Javalyn Wade, the junior back. It'll be 2nd down and 10 on the 26-yard line. 45 seconds left to go in the opening quarter, tied at 14.
And another good stop there by the Huntsville D-line. The run game for Bryan has really not worked well tonight. They've had most of their success through the air tonight. Huntsville really able to stuff the run here early on in the game.
Turner shotgun once again. He'll hand it off to the back. Finds the outside seam here on the right side of the line of scrimmage. And races and dances basically around 4 Hornets that are laying on the turf. And gets it inside the red zone to the 19-yard line. Again, another run by Javalyn Wade.
Yeah, just able to find that outside crease, fight for every single yard. Brings him inside the 20-yard line. 7-yard gain makes it 3rd down, but they will let the clock wind out. That'll end the first quarter of play. Started out high flying and electrifying. Then a little bit of defensive action to show up. A little special teams work as well in this ballgame so far. We've seen it all through the first 12 minutes of play. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, quarter number 2 here in Huntsville, Texas on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network.
Back here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network as we get ready to start quarter number 2 here in this one. The Advantage Specialties second quarter. Tied up at 14 here in Huntsville, Texas at Huntsville ISD Stadium between the Bryan Vikings and your Huntsville Hornets. Jordan Smith here alongside me is Houston Hardcastle. Third member of our team, Emma Sims. We'll get to her later on in this second quarter. Hardworking engineer Justin Hardcastle behind us as well. So right now, 3rd down and 3 situation, a handoff to the back to start. Little trip up behind the line of scrimmage. That'll work to Huntsville's advantage. Just a little second hesitation is all they needed to get past the line of scrimmage, force a loss of 1, and now it's 4th down and 4, and it looks like Bryan's going to go for it.
Yeah, interesting call here for the Bryan Vikings to go for it. Not the longest field goal in the world, but they're keeping their offense out on the field. It's all guts, no glory if they don't get it though.
4th down and 4 on the 20-yard line. Almost a chance at a neutral zone infraction, but nobody on the offensive line moved. And if you're Huntsville, you're glad that's the case. And now it looks like a timeout will be taken here by the Vikings.
Yeah, it looked like the Vikings were just trying to draw them offside. There was a couple Hornets that may have jumped, but no yellow laundry on the field by the referees, so it'll still remain 4th down and about 4 for the Bryan Vikings. Looks like they were just trying to draw them offsides.
11:19 left to go here in the first half of play in this Advantage Specialties second quarter of play, tied up at 14 here in Huntsville. As teams get ready to head back out onto the field again, 4th and 4 situation at the 20-yard line. Is Bryan on Huntsville's side of the field again? Now, because of the change of quarter, they are moving right to left across your radio dials is Bryan. They need the 16 to continue the drive into the red zone. And a false start. There it is. That's what you were waiting on, is one mistake. Cameron Glade, the senior tight end.
False start, offense, number 17. 5-yard penalty.
Actually, yeah, Cameron Glade, the one called on the false start. So now because of that, instead of a 4th and 4, it's now 4th and 9. And you'll see the field goal unit come out, it looks like, for the Vikings.
Yeah, it looks like, again, they might have still been trying to draw Huntsville offsides and maybe get a free 1st down, but their offensive line jumps. Like you said, the tight end got a little antsy, and it's going to have to bring out the field goal unit, settle for 3 here.
Nelson Maya Collision Center field goal try, and that one no good. It was an attempt of about 41 yards, and that one missing. So now Huntsville escaping with a little bit of pixie dust on that ball there, the wind pushing it a bit to give them an opportunity to at least keep the ball game tied at 14.
Yeah, and it looked like a good kick. It just wasn't able to get through the uprights. Going to bring a turnover of downs, though. Give Huntsville offense another chance here. Maybe blow the cap off this thing and start to build a lead. Been tied for a little too long here.
1st and 10 for Huntsville on their own 25-yard line. Fake handoff by Taylor. He's going deep down the field. Has a man way overthrown. Savion Conte, the intended target. He had the angle by just a step or two, but was not able, just threw it over him by about 4 or so yards.
Yeah, and good coverage there by the cornerback, Lowry, the senior defensive back there in coverage on Conti. Not an easy man to guard, as we've talked about. He's really carved out a role for himself in this offense.
3 receivers to the near sideline. Here's a shotgun snap. Taylor looking out to his right. Finally gets a man. It's Conte across the 40. 1st down and more. Breaks a tackle. Using his speed across the 50. Down to the 40. Down to the 30. And is brought down at the 28-yard line. Savion Conte racing his way into Bryan Viking territory. And another Mocha attorney at law 1st down.
Yeah, talk about Savion Conte. We just talked about him carving out a role for himself in this offense, and he puts his stamp on the game right there, able to get a huge 1st down for the Hornets.
An injury timeout on the field here. Sabron Lowry, the senior defensive back for Bryan, is hurt on the field, so we will take a quick break. And we'll be back here to Huntsville after this. 10:58 left to go in the first half of play. Tied up at 14 here in Huntsville on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM-FM. Back here in Huntsville, Texas, 10:58 left to go in the first half of play and in the Advantage Specialties second quarter. Huntsville with possession on the Bryan 29-yard line, moving left to right across your radio dials. Tied up at 14 between Bryan and Huntsville. Jordan Smith here alongside of me is Houston Hardcastle. Third member of our team, get to her in a little bit, is Emma Sims, as there's a handoff on first down. The run, not much by Trayshawn Brown to the near sideline, as he will be taken out of bounds along with a couple other players. Bryan coach screaming at the ref, wanting a penalty there, not going to get it though, after what looks to be about a 3-yard gain on the play to the 26.
Yeah, and it looks like he wanted a penalty for maybe a late hit out of bounds. It looked a little iffy over here from where we're sitting. Regardless, still no yellow laundry on the field for Huntsville. Keeps the drive going.
Threatening as they get closer to the red zone here is Huntsville, the Murray Insurance and Financial Services red zone. Shotgun snap. Here's Taylor on second down. Fakes a handoff, line drive pass over the middle. This one's caught. Stutter step, 10-5. Racing into the end zone. Josh Stanley, the senior receiver, for 6 as Huntsville retakes the lead and is an extra point away from having a 21-14 lead.
Ooh, just a short little hitch route there for Stanley, but boy, did he turn it into a lot more. A short pass over there on the left side of the field, able to turn it into a touchdown for the Hornets. Let's see if they can build on this lead, build on this momentum, and really start to blow the top off this game.
An MRC Creekside touchdown brings up a Nelson Amaya Collision Center extra point opportunity. Kickers have been able to get the extra points, but the only field goal attempt we saw earlier did not go for Bryan. It would have given them the first lead of the ball game. Snap, hold, kick, right through the middle for Caleb Kulak. 21-14 the score. 10:02 left to go in the Advantage Specialties second quarter. Take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more action for you on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here in Huntsville, Texas, as we get set and ready to restart play. Your Hornets lead at 21-14 over the Bryan Vikings with 10:02 left to go in the Advantage Specialties second quarter of play. Jordan Smith here alongside me is Houston Hardcastle. This one, booming kick end over end. It finally bounces into the end zone. Looks like it may have stuck inside the 5. That would have been a perfect kick. But unfortunately to no avail as it rolls into the end zone for a touchback.
Yeah, again, like we talked about all night, a couple of interesting kicks here. Looking like that kick was going to fall back inside the 5-yard line, which would have been perfect field position for the Huntsville Hornet defense. But regardless, the kick falls out of the back of the end zone, going to give the ball to Bryan on the 25-yard line. And, you know, they've had a couple of plays here on offense that have been pretty good here at the end of the first, going into the second, but haven't really been able to do a lot here. Huntsville's defense been a lot more stifling here at the end of the first quarter and into the second. So let's see what Bryan does on this drive.
So 1st and 10 for the Vikings, moving right to left across your radio dials on their own 25-yard line. Huntsville in a 2-safety formation. A running back handoff here for Bryan to Titus Runnels, the starting running back. They get a gain of 1 on the play to the 26, 2nd down and 9 coming up.
And that's a good, like we talked about, Huntsville's run defense able to stifle them. Let's see if they can keep doing it on this drive.
Line up once again, 2 receivers to the far sideline for the Vikings. A handoff looking for a man. Now he's going to run with it. Is Turner to the far sideline, trying to get to the first down. Can't do so as Huntsville is right there to make the stop all the way down to what looks to be about the 33-yard line on the far side of the field. We'll make it a 3rd down and short, 3rd and 2 to be exact, with 9:12 left to go in the Advantage Specialties second quarter, 21-14, Huntsville over Bryan.
And a good tackle there by McCord Norman, because it looked like that Bryan quarterback was trying to put his shoulder down.
Handoff up the gut. Will he get there? Yes, he will, pushing his way through and then some. Forward progression will give him a 4-yard gain before the whistle is blown for Titus Runnels on that right side of the line of scrimmage. And it's enough for a 1st down for Bryan.
Yeah, just tough smash mouth football there. Bryan able to get those big guys up front and not really clear away, but able to churn the running back's legs over the 1st down line and then get some more on top of it.
Handoff once again, finds a seam wide open across the 50, and you could see Runnels. He had a lane clear as day. Looked like the fastest man in the world when he broke through the line of scrimmage and across the 50 for another 1st down.
Yeah, just a good run there by Runnels. Really finding some success here on the ground game is the Bryan Vikings. They must have heard me talking about their lack of success in the run game up here, because now it's been all run, run, run this drive.
We talked about it early in the ballgame. We'll get back to that as here's another run by Runnels. A little play on words for his name there with the running back, as that's a gain of about 5 on the play. 2nd and 5 coming up on the Hornet 40-yard line as they're now on the Huntsville side of the 50, but we talked about it for the defense, giving up 261 rushing yards last week to Brenham, and you see Bryan is having the same exact kind of success here tonight so far. Handoff here once again. Actually, this time a loss of 1 on the play. Good stop there by the Huntsville defense. Was able to get what's now a 3rd and 6 situation coming up on the stop there was Zach Moss, the senior defensive lineman.
Yeah, good stop there by the Huntsville defensive line. Able to bring up a 3rd and 6 here for the Bryan Vikings. Let's get them off the field here.
Looking around for options. The quarterback will take it himself. Tries to truck a man, does Turner. He should be short. In fact, he will. Short by a yard. A gain of 5, not enough. 4th and 1 coming up on the Huntsville 36-yard line.
Yeah, break out the credit card on that one. Let's see how close they are to the 1st down on that. Wow, it is really close down there. Initially looked like he was short, but they gave him a little bit of a favorable spot, but regardless, he's still short, and it looks like Bryan's going for it.
Yes, they are. 2 receivers to the near sideline. They will hand it off. Nope, the quarterback will keep it in. Turner, he's stopped in the backfield. Turnover on downs. A big hit. Braylon Phelps, the senior safety, charges in and gets it done. And a turnover on downs by Huntsville.
How about Braylon Phelps transitioning to the safety position this year, able to just make a couple of huge plays. He made a few plays last week, including an interception, and able to make a huge tackle there on 4th down. Braylon Phelps, tough as nails. What a kid.
So now with that, Huntsville will start with possession on their own 37-yard line. Moving left to right across your radio dials. There's a quick screen to the outside. The catch is made. 1st down, still inbounds as he tight ropes it across the 50, down past the 40, and down to what looks to be the 37-yard line. A big catch and run by the senior wideout in Hunter Lorenz.
Whew, just a great play there by the Huntsville offense. Austin Taylor able to roll out, find a man wide open short, and he's able to make some with his play. A lot of run after the catch yard here for the Huntsville receivers.
Shotgun formation, nobody in the backfield except Taylor. He'll keep it himself, run up the gut, makes his way as he shimmies around his left guard, goes up the gut to the 32-yard line. A gain of about, what looks to be 5 on the play here, so 2nd and medium coming up. 2nd and 5 with 6:20 and counting left to go in the Advantage Specialties second quarter of play. Hornets lead it 21-14 over Bryan.
Just another QB power play. Good play to set up a 2nd and manageable here for the Huntsville offense.
Once again, nobody in the backfield. Quick screen to the near sideline. Catch is made by Josh Stanley as he'll get his way past the 30 and down to the 27-yard line. And it looks like it will just be enough for another Mocha Attorneys at Law 1st down.
Whew. Yeah, Huntsville finding some success here in the pass game. We talked about it last week. Not a lot of success here on through the air, but Huntsville really finding their stride here on this drive and last drive.
Shotgun formation. Taylor once again keeping himself with an empty backfield. He's this time met by that front seven of Bryan, but not before he gains what looks to be about a couple of yards on the play to the 25-yard line. 2nd and 8 coming up.
Again, another QB power play. Just run it up the middle. Go get as many yards as you can. Austin Taylor bringing up a 2nd and 8 here for the Huntsville Hornets offense. Let's see what they do here. Open up the playbook.
We talked about how Trayshawn Brown had himself a fantastic game last week. 18 carries, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. Taylor had a similar running performance. We'll get to that in a second as a quick screen to the outside and catch is made by Hunter Lorenz. Gain of a few, not enough for a first down as it's out to the 22-yard line. Gain of 3 on the play to set up 3rd down and what looks to be about 5. We talked about the running performances last week. 18 carries, 139 yards for 2 touchdowns for Trayshawn Brown. Austin Taylor, 2nd leading rusher on the team. 18 carries, 130 yards, a touchdown himself. Granted, he had the fumble, which wasn't great to see as that was part of the turnovers that lost him in the game. But regardless, he had himself a good running game as well. To the right side, peeling out, incomplete, in and out of the hands of the intended target on the play for Huntsville and Jarius Singletary. That would have been not only a first down, but well into the red zone. Now we'll see what Huntsville does on 4th down. And looks to be the field goal unit to try to extend their lead to 10.
Yeah, with the way the special teams have been tonight, we talked about the wind a little bit. Interesting to send out the field goal unit. You'd think head coach Rodney Southern would want to go for it here with the way the offense has been clicking on this drive. He's got a lot of faith in that freshman kicker.
The good news about his situation, though, for the junior kicker in Kulak is the fact that he's using the left hash with the wind pushing to his right. So he has a little bit more to work with. As now a timeout is called, looks like that was intentional. As head coach Rodney Southern just wants to see what the opposite personnel is on the field. A University Heights Baptist Church timeout. While we have a second, let's actually head down to our 3rd member of the team in Emma Sims. And Emma, so far through this first half, it seems like it has been a decent offense, but there have been spurts by both sides where the defense has shown out pretty well, so it feels like it's been a really well-rounded game.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's very much a back-and-forth game, but what I've been seeing a lot from the Hornets is they're just doing a lot of running down the field to get those touchdowns, which is really just ensuring that win. And then they are also just defensively, I see they're holding back that line from Brian Ferry Willis, too.
Thank you, Emma. We'll head back with you later on in the ballgame. Don't forget, coming up on the Northside Baptist Church Halftime Report, you'll hear from Emma Sims as she talks with head coach Rodney Southern as they head to the locker room in about 4.5 minutes from now. For now, here's a Nelson Amaya Collision Center 39-yard field goal attempt. Oh, here you go. Here's the fake you were talking about. 4th down. Now here comes Adolphe in the shotgun. He's going to try to go for it and is stopped 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and a big momentum change as it goes in favor of Bryan and a turnover on downs.
We saw this a couple times last week with head coach Rodney Southern on special teams, kind of mixing it up on 4th down. Huntsville just really unable to find anything open on that play. Adolphe had nowhere to go, and they were able to stop them. Turnover on downs for Huntsville. Just not the greatest play call there.
So it'll be 1st down and 10 for the Bryan Vikings with 4:30 left to go in this Advantage Specialties second quarter. 21-14, Huntsville leads it over Bryan. And Bryan will start, the Vikings will, on their own 24-yard line, moving right to left across your radio dials. A good Bryan contingency showing up for the ball game today, about an hour drive, just a little west on Highway 30, not that bad of a drive. At least when the sun is out, that is. Here's a 1st down handoff run to Javalen Wade, the junior back. Can't do much with it, in fact, just barely. Gets back to the line of scrimmage, 2nd down and 10 coming up.
Good play there by the senior linebacker, Shiloh Jones, recognizing that it was a run all day, able to stop him and just get him back to the original line of scrimmage. Good play there by the Hornet defense to bring up a 2nd and 10.
Shotgun formation. Here's a snap looking to the outside. Line drive throw is caught by Tyree Love, the senior, as he was falling to the ground. A last-second throw there by Boone Turner as pressure was getting to him quickly. Not near enough for a first down, though, as the pass goes to the 28-yard line. They still need to get to the 34 to convert, so 3rd and 6 coming up.
Yeah, and a pretty good throw there and catch there by the Bryan Vikings.
Low snap by Turner, has to recollect himself. Now going deep down the sideline, has a man potentially. No interference call is going to be made. Couple of Hornets on the coverage there. One of them being Peyton Pryor, the senior, who put the last-second pressure on for the Huntsville defense. Forces 4th down, and a punt coming up here, so Huntsville will have possession more than likely for the final 3:34 of this Advantage Specialty second quarter.
3-minute offense. Let's see what the Huntsville Hornet offense here is able to do. Really got to milk that clock and make sure, like you said, this is the last drive of the game. Try and go get any form of points on the board. Even if it's just a field goal, going up into the locker room 10 is better than going up 7.
Braylon Phelps back deep for the Hornets, standing at his own 40-yard line. Has to backpedal a couple of yards. Now calls for the fair catch, drops the ball. Who ends up with it? It is Braylon Phelps. It looked like a Viking fell on it, but somehow wasn't able to keep it in his grasp. And lucky for Braylon Phelps there that he was able to grab it back. Just not what you need, not what you want to see. Almost lucky situation for Bryan.
Yeah, and that would have been such an error to make at this part of the game. You give Bryan really good field position down there. Thankfully, Phelps able to find his own ball that he dropped, and Huntsville will take over here at about the 36-yard line.
Huntsville moving left to right across your radio dial. Taylor with pressure behind him, throws over through his right side. It looked like a little bit of a misconnection there. A little bit of a miscommunication, I should say. Savion Conte, the intended target, way down the field. Looked like he thought the route was going left. The ball was thrown right, so maybe just a little bit of a weird situation. As looks like the Hornets will take a timeout here, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like a timeout for Huntsville. And we are going to take a second to pause for station identification here on the 101.7 KSAM Sports Network, powered by KSAM Sports.
Back here in Huntsville is actually an injury timeout on the field. It looks to be Chester Gooden, the junior defensive lineman, who was out there on the field, looked at by the training staff, but now jogging towards the sideline under his own power. Good to see.
Yeah, and that's good to see that he was able to run off over there to the sideline under his own power. And let's see what Huntsville can do on this drive. You know, you missed that throw on first down, but let's see what you do here on second.
Taylor looking over the middle of the field, deflected by the linebacker and Carson Dodd, the junior. Otherwise, that was going right to the hands of Jabari Washington, the intended target. So now, because of the deflection, 3rd down and 10 on Huntsville's own 36-yard line. 3:14 left to go in the Advantage Specialty second quarter of play. 21-14 Huntsville over Bryan.
And we talked about controlling the clock. 2 incomplete passes pauses the clock here for the Hornets. If you don't pick up this first down here, you give Bryan about 3 minutes to go down and march the field and score. So you got to pick this up.
2 receivers to each side of the line of scrimmage. Here's Conte with the screen on 3rd down. Gets across the 40, 45, 50 into Bryan territory. Across the 35, 30. Brought down by the laces. And it's another Mocha attorneys at law, first down deep into Bryan Viking territory to the 26.
And how about Savion Conte, the senior wide receiver, really carving out a name for himself here in this quarter. Just an amazing running catch there.
Conte has been a guy who has really shined in this ball game, has really been the main guy for this wideout group this season. And you see another reason why, another injury timeout here on the field for the Vikings. 3:03 left to go here in this first half of play. Again, coming up on the Northside Baptist Church halftime report, we will take a look at the recap of the first half. We will also hear from head coach Rodney Southern as Emma Sims will talk to him right at the end of the first half of play. We'll also hear this week's edition of Hornets Nest from Shannon Duncan, and then we'll get halftime adjustments as well to get ready for the second half. All coming up on the Northside Baptist Church halftime report. While we have a quick second, let's thank a couple more of our wonderful sponsors who made this broadcast possible.
No doubt. We couldn't do it without these guys. Wiesner of Huntsville, home of the bottom line, is one of your sponsors for this year of Hornet football. Amaya's Collision Center, family owned and operated since 1999. MRC Creekside Retirement Community, a healthy living senior community. And Mocha Attorneys at Law. For your estate planning, real estate, or business law needs, call Mocha Attorneys at Law, serving Huntsville since 1971.
Back to play here. Again, ball on the 26-yard line. Shotgun snap. They will hand it off to Trayshawn Brown, who is grabbed by the undershirt and dragged his way down. Jamarcus Joshua for the Bryan Vikings, bringing him down in negative territory out to the 29, a loss of 3 on the play. Huntsville was second down and 13.
Just a good play there by the Bryan Vikings, able to bring down the running back in Huntsville, bring up a second and long. And it seems like the Hornets have faced a lot of these second and longs, these third and long situations all night. It's really just put them in some bad situations. It really hasn't hurt them until now, but let's see how they get out of this one.
Shotgun snap, fake handoff to Brown. Taylor trying to go over the top with it, and just ahead of the intended target in Jabari Washington by about another hand length or 2. Not that far, though. So now it becomes third down and 13.
And Jabari Washington able to create a little bit of separation there, just a little off on the throw by Austin Taylor. Brings up third down here for the Hornets. Third and a long. Let's see if they just try and get enough maybe for a field goal, or if they really do open up the playbook and try to get a first down here.
5 wide, 3 to the far sideline, 2 safety formation for the Bryan Vikings. Shotgun snap over the middle and a lot of miscommunication there. Taylor not happy as the crossing man over the middle, Hunter Lorenz on the play. That'll make it fourth down and 13. And we'll see what Huntsville does here. Definitely not close enough to try to go for it, and it looks like Kulak will head out there and maybe try a really long field goal. Yes, he will, in fact. This will be a distance on this Nelson Amaya Collision Center field goal try of about 46 yards.
And you're kind of in no man's land for high school football. Like you said, it's a long field goal, and you can't really punt. And going for it wouldn't make sense because it's 4th and 13. Let's see what head coach Rodney Southern does. Maybe another fake.
And now a timeout is taken on the field to freeze the kicker, to ice the kicker by Bryan. That'll be their second timeout taken of the ball game. And now a timeout is taken by Huntsville. And you're saying you think it's a delay of game.
It looks like the White Hat might have initially signaled for a delay of game. Couldn't really hear it well from up here, which would make sense. You know, you take the delay of game penalty, then you put yourself in a more favorable position to punt and pin Bryan back at maybe inside the 20-yard line. Couldn't really hear the White Hat from up here, and they haven't moved the sticks yet, but if it is a delay of game, it'll be a 4th and 18. Again, sorry about that, folks. We couldn't hear the White Hat too well up here. We'll see what the call is after this. While we have a minute, let's go ahead and thank some more of our wonderful sponsors. This season of Huntsville Hornet football is presented by Bill Fick Ford. No bull, just good deals. AB Squared Self-Storage, your local go-to self-storage facility, and Charlie's Used Cars. Customer satisfaction is our #1 priority.
Teams are heading back out there on the field now that they've got the ball respotted. That'll change the distance here for this field goal try. It was about 46, and now actually they're going to go for it on 4th down, so no more because of that penalty. Not able to try the field goal. They think it's way too far. It would have been a 50-plus yarder. And now all of a sudden we got a situation with the referees. Maybe ball placement, because you see where the ball is right now on the 34-yard line. The line of scrimmage on the opposite side says the ball should be on the 29-yard line still.
Yeah, it looks like some miscues between the refs and the people running the sticks over there as they do finally move over there. It looks like a little just miscommunication there.
So now 4th down and way too deep here for Huntsville. They'll go for it on 4th down with 3 receivers to the left side. Taylor rolling out to his left, throwing across his body and cannot stay in the hands of Savion Conte. It would have brought it right about the original line of scrimmage and a few yards more. but to no avail as it's a turnover on downs. 2:08 left to go in the Advantage Specialty second quarter. Hornets up 21-14 over the Bryan Vikings.
And we talked about it. They were kind of in the dead zone of high school football there. Again, too far for a field goal, too close to punt. So in those 4th and a country mile situations, you're thinking maybe arm punt, or maybe you just get as many yards as you can to set up favorable field position for your defense, but just unable to get any yards there, and the Bryan Vikings are going to come out with decent field position on about the 34-yard line. See what they do here with about 2:08 remaining.
So shotgun snap here for Turner on first down. He'll hand it off to the back in Runnels. It will get to the near sideline. They move right to left across your radio dials to about the 38-yard line, 37-yard line actually. So a 3-yard gain on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 7 coming up as we are now under the 2-minute, we'll call it warning. It's high school football. No one's going to yell at us, not the officials or anything. We get to call it a warning. However, in the college game, has to be called a timeout. Has to be called a timeout.
Right.
2nd down and 7 here for the Vikings. Shotgun snap, quick screen to the near side. This one's caught by the receiver in Cameron Glade. Good to see him back in the ball game as he trucks a Huntsville Hornet and Kenneth Scott III and gets enough for a new set of downs, 1st and 10 on the Vikings' own 46-yard line.
Yeah, and it looks like they're trying to work the sidelines here, are the Bryan Vikings. Don't want to use up those timeouts that they have remaining and really work the sidelines.
Outside to the far sideline, this one's caught, immediately hit was Brent Carroll, the one making the tackle, but the catch made regardless by Tyree Love. A gain of about 3 on the play, another 2nd and 7 situation near midfield at their own 49-yard line. 1:10 left to go in the Advantage Specialties second quarter of play. No huddle offense here with 2 receivers to the far side of the line of scrimmage. Here is a handoff to Runnels to the far sideline. Gets across the 50 into Hornet territory down to the 48-yard line. Gain of 3 on the play. 2nd down and about 4 coming up here now with less than a minute to go, and a timeout is taken by Bryan.
Yeah, and interesting note there by Bryan. Not a lot of urgency there on that drive. Milked a lot of the clock. They started this drive with about 2 minutes to go and milked about...
Please reset the game clock. 53 seconds.
Oh, look.
53 seconds. 5-3.
So they had a couple of seconds on the clock there, as you heard them say. They're going to reset the clock here in this one. 3rd down and about 4 to go. Here's the ball is on the Hornet 48-yard line. Again, they're moving right to left is Bryan across your radio dials. Again, don't forget, coming up in the Northside Baptist Church halftime report, myself and Houston will recap the first half of action. We'll have our special Hornets Nest segment with Shannon Duncan as well. We'll have our halftime adjustments in Keys' second half, what have you, heading into the rest of the ball game. All coming up in the Northside Baptist Church halftime report.
So with about 53 seconds left here, Jordan, and the Bryan having a 3rd down, they throw a pass and it's incomplete. Huntsville's got about 50 seconds. Do you think they just kneel it and take it into the half, or, I mean, do you maybe try and get some points out of that?
Depends on where you are on the field. You don't want to try to rush too much because you have to remember they're not getting the ball to start the second half. They're kicking it because they received it to start the ball game. So because of that, you have to, if you have the ball, you still have the lead, just take the knee, let the clock run out, and go into halftime with the advantage. Here's a shotgun snap to Terrence Lewis, a little bit of a wildcat formation as he is somersaulted into the sideline. Peyton Pryor there with a little bit of a suplex, if you will, to the sideline, but it is enough for a 1st down for Bryan, and now Terrence Lewis gets up, walks a little bit, and falls to the ground as he is hurting after getting thrown to the ground in the sideline.
Yeah, and now with the 1st down, let's see what Bryan does here on this drive and see if they try to go get some points out of that. Like I said, you don't get that 3rd down there, you kind of just are in no man's land. But while we have a minute, let's go ahead and thank some more of our wonderful sponsors. Diana K. Barnes, State Farm Insurance, focusing on auto, home, life, farm and ranch, business, pet, and tractor insurance in Huntsville, Texas, and surrounding areas. Huntsville Independent School District, we thank them for everything they do. We thank them for providing video for us tonight and all the great things they do behind the scenes to make these broadcasts possible. It's a great day to be a Hornet. We are building champions, everyone, every day. And finally, Hartfield Florist, personalizing your events since 1957.
Of course, an important note here tonight for this ball game, and something that you're starting to see a lot of high schools do, it's senior night. something that was usually held for the final home game of the regular season. Now a lot of schools starting to do it towards the beginning of the season, because towards the end of the year you start to have things like homecoming. You start to have some other things going on, especially when you get close to a playoff race. You might not want to hold those festivities. Plus, that's when all the crazy weather happens as well that throws schedules around. So you start seeing teams throwing around. It's second game of the season for Huntsville, and it's senior night tonight. Going to the outside on this one, way outside. And it is incomplete. Second down and 10 here on this one. You know, and for Huntsville, this is a team that has a lot of experience. A lot of these players were either starters or primary backups in the deep playoff run last season for your Huntsville Hornets. They got them all the way to the regional finals against P&G, who they're now district mates with for the next 2 years. That a game, of course, to watch, as they will both match up here at Huntsville ISD later this season right here. You can listen to that ball game with Carlos, Bryan, and Houston on the 101.7 KSAM-FM radio airways, as well as the KSAM mobile app. And you can watch a video presentation on the 101.7 KSAM YouTube channel. Referee comes racing in. Timeout is taken by Bryan. It is their final timeout of the first half. They had to take it because otherwise they were going to be called for a delay of game.
Yeah, and again, like the last drive, just doesn't seem to be a lot of urgency here for Bryan. It looks like they're kind of just slow and nonchalantly walking up to the line. They need to be moving with a sense of urgency here. Only about 44 seconds left here in the half, and you're about at your 40, maybe 43-yard line, and you gotta have some urgency here.
You know, and talking about one of the main storylines for tonight's ball game and wanted to see improvement was the penalties. And so far, it's been a hair under what you were in regards to pace from last week. They only have about 4 penalties so far. A little note from our in-house engineer here tonight, and Justin Hardcastle. Appreciate your work as always. Only 4 penalties so far in this ball game for Huntsville. So a little bit better mark, but again, still like to see that toned down a little bit. Fake handoff on the option play, actually. It'll be Turner who races it up the gut through the middle of the line of scrimmage up to the Huntsville 36-yard line. It'll be third down and short, about 3 as the no-huddle goes with 30 seconds left in the Advantage Specialties second quarter. Shotgun formation once again, split receivers. It'll actually be 2 to the far side, and that is going to be an offsides. It looks like a neutral zone infraction, and if so, that will give an automatic first down for Bryan because of the fact that the Huntsville player caused the Bryan lineman to make the motion.
See what the call is from the White Hats. They're deliberating, seeing what they saw there on the play.
Now remember, the ball wasn't snapped yet, but it was pretty obvious. He had gotten basically past the shoulder of that left tackle. That's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to move it, and it'll be a first down.
Yep.
Flag brought to you by AIM Agencies. Laundry's on the field for Huntsville.
Defense, number 8, 5-yard penalty will result in a first down.
McCormick
Clock will start on the snap.
McCormick Norman, the senior linebacker, called for the offside penalty. So now 5 yards, gets it to the Huntsville 31-yard line. Again, moving right to left across your radio dials is Bryan with 21 seconds left to go in the Advantage Specialties second quarter of play. 21-14, Huntsville leads Bryan here in the second game of the season. 2 receivers to the near sideline. Turner in shotgun formation. He'll get the snap. Running back goes on a bubble screen to his left, going way over. I guess a miscommunication on the route there. Intended target on the play looked to be Tyree Love. And it'll be second down and 10 because of it. And that pressure for Huntsville was getting to Turner right after he threw the ball. He was sitting on his backside.
Oh, yeah, and it could have been a miscommunication, or it could have been, like you talked about, the pressure from the Hornet defensive line. And just an overthrown ball there, looking for Tyree Love. Just unable to find him. Looks like he wanted to cut in on the route, but he threw it outside. Interesting play there for Bryan.
Shotgun snap, fake handoff. Here's Turner with it to the right sideline. He's going to try to race his way. He'll go out of bounds to stop the clock with 10 seconds left to go in the Advantage Specialties second quarter as he gets it to the 27-yard line. So you think one more play and potentially a field goal try, depending on how long it takes to get this next play off. Because remember, Bryan doesn't have any timeouts.
Yeah, and you got to be careful here if you're Bryan to get to the sidelines. If you complete a pass and you're inside this, you're on the playing field and you don't get out of bounds, it's over. It's going to go to halftime with nothing.
Shotgun snap. Throw over the middle of the field. Almost intercepted by Kenneth Scott III.
And we talked about that for Bryan. That was the play they needed, though. Just throw it deep and hope that your receiver makes a play. Obviously there, Kenneth Scott should have made the interception, but that's kind of the play you want there if you're Bryan. Only about 10 seconds left on the clock. You either get an incompletion or a touchdown. That's what you're really looking for, and now they're going to bring out the field goal unit here.
Field goal try from Jafet Gonzalez of about 45 yards. 4 seconds left to go in the first half. Snap, hold, kick. Flag on the play line, drive, no good. However,
see what the flag is.
And I'm thinking this may be on Huntsville because it was thrown right at the snap.
Yeah.
Otherwise, play would have been blown dead.
A couple of Bryan players pointing over at Huntsville. Let's see what the call is from the white hat.
If it's an offsides, it gives them 5 yards and a little bit better chance. It also looked like just a weird kick there as it kind of went rugby sideways, if you will, on that one.
And that's kind of how he's been kicking all night.
Formation, 23 defense, lined up over the center. Be a 5-yard penalty, and we will replay the down.
C.J. Draper, the junior defensive lineman, and on special teams, they will replay the down, and you said give them about 5 extra yards on the play. Still not enough for the first down, but once again, they will try the field goal. Now a little bit closer, a 40-yard attempt, untimed down to end the first half of play. Snap, hold, kick by Gonzalez is no good. Wide left. So that will take us into the halftime break. 21-14 the score. Huntsville ahead of Bryan in this one. And before we go to break, we will be here down on the sideline as we go to our sideline reporter and Emma Sims to talk with head coach Rodney Southern.
All right, Coach, so I'm going to get your thoughts on this first half.
Well, a couple mistakes early when we were against the wind. 2 great plays by their number 1. And then we kind of settled down, ran the ball better in the second quarter, made a couple big plays, and then we shot ourselves in the foot the last series right there offensively.
Talk to me a little bit about Savion Conte's game tonight.
He's played well. But we expect him to play well. He's a senior, and he's done it for 2 years, so he's done a good job catching and blocking tonight.
And then before I let you go, what are some things you want to see more from your team coming out of halftime?
Well, we got to get back to running the ball a little bit more and eat some clock, try to get them off the field because we got to kick it to them, and then try to get another score ahead and then hold on.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you, Emma, for your work here so far in this one. We will take a quick break. When we come back, Northside Baptist Church halftime report. We will recap the first half of action and what started to be an offensive showdown and then turn into a defensive showcase as the rest of the first half has gone on. We'll take a quick break. Be back after this. It's Huntsville Hornet football on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network in 101.7 KSAM. Welcome back to Huntsville ISD Stadium, where the halftime score, your Huntsville Hornets lead the Bryan Vikings 21-14 here in the gateway to the East Texas Piney Woods. Alongside me is Houston Hardcastle. Almost said my name is who's alongside me. My name is Jordan Smith. Again, great work from our sideline reporter so far tonight in Emma Sims, our in-house engineer, and Justin Hardcastle, and everybody back at the studios, Michael and Colin as well, doing fantastic work. Welcome to the Northside Baptist Halftime Report. As you see the bands here on senior night performing their festivities, as we take a recap of the first half of play and just kind of talking a little bit about how things have gone so far. We said it a little bit. It was an offensive showcase for the first about 6 minutes of the ball game. Each side going down the length of the field whatever way they could. Really, passing game was a big thing for Bryan. The running game was a big thing for Huntsville, as we kind of expected in this ball game, especially the terrific one-handed catch by Terrence Lewis at the end zone to get them their first score of the ball game. But then all of a sudden, the defense with about 7-8 minutes left to go in that first quarter of play, maybe 6 minutes left to go in the first quarter, defense started becoming the name of the game for both sides, and we've only seen one score in those 18 minutes after the fact, heading into halftime, that of course being Huntsville's touchdown to take the lead once again. Bryan, just a quick note, has not led in this ball game yet, but they have had a tie twice in this one.
Yeah, like you talked about, Bryan really going stride for stride there with Huntsville early. Terrence Lewis, you know, I got some flashbacks as a Texans fans to T.Y. Hilton. He looked like T.Y. Hilton out there, just completely doing whatever he wanted, made that incredible one-handed catch over there like you talked about, and a couple big plays. And he was really the focal point of their offense there early, but, you know, Bryan's kind of been able to mix it up. They found some success in the ground game there in the second quarter. Like Coach Southern talked about, the penalties have just been terrible for Huntsville tonight. Again, about 6 penalties total for Huntsville in the first half. You need to clean that up, like he talked about at halftime, and that's just something that comes with the mentality of the game. You just need to be able to clear your mental state and not commit those penalties, because they're drive killers. They can really put you in unfavorable situations, both on offense and defense, and even special teams. Like something we haven't talked about yet is the special teams, that blocked punt by Bryan, giving them favorable field position. It's just been, I hate to say it's been Huntsville beating Huntsville, but they've really shot themselves in the foot a few times tonight.
Yeah, and you kind of take a look at it on the offensive side, at least for Huntsville. There's really been a couple players that have stood out, it feels like, the most. Obviously, Trayshawn Brown is having himself a good first half so far to combat those 6 penalties, like you said, so far in the ballgame. But also, a player who is really outshining, again, one of the leaders of this team, Savion Conte, has had some big plays down the sideline and use that speed to tightrope his way down the sideline for a couple of 30-plus yard plays so far in this first half of play. Those two have really been able to keep this Huntsville offense going and keeping drives alive when it all seemed pretty tough.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the person who scored the touchdown for the Huntsville Hornets, Josh Stanley. How about Josh Stanley having a good night? The senior wide receiver having himself a pretty good day with the touchdown that he scored earlier in the game. And you just feel like this receiving core has played really well tonight. And we talked about the passing game before not doing wonders last week. It's looked a lot better this week, but there's been a few miscommunications on both sides. For Bryan especially, it looks like they've had some miscommunications with receivers. Austin has kind of looked towards the sidelines a couple times and at his guys, and there's been some miscommunication there. It's obviously not perfect. It's looked better, but you can always improve upon better and be better, a better version of yourself. A better version of better. That's a mouthful.
A little bit of an entendre, if you like. It's a little, whatever we're going to call it, either way. Either way. You know, something else, too, that we mentioned as potentially a brief thing that could affect things in the ballgame. It's had a slight effect when it comes to the kickoffs. You mentioned it. Has been the fact that most of the kickoffs, with the exception of a couple that have been boomed into the end zone for a touchback, there's been a lot of kicks because of that wind that's still persistent, going the same direction, blowing in your face if you're watching on the YouTube stream for the 101.7 KSAM YouTube channel, blowing right in your face. It's been doing that all night long, hasn't changed direction, hasn't changed speed, and because of that, It's pushed kickoffs to this near sideline, and it's caused a few penalties for both sides of the ball and ended up with some good field position for both sides offensively.
Yeah, and there was a couple big kickoff returns for both teams. I remember Lewis, I believe it was Lewis that had a good kickoff return for Bryan, and then we had one with Adolphe who had a pretty good return, and it's just been interesting. Initially, I thought maybe Coach Southern was trying to do some pooch kicks, some interesting strategies, kind of pin Bryan back, but then you talked about the wind blowing directly towards the sideline, and that makes a little more sense. Who knows if Coach Southern told Kulak to do that on purpose, but regardless, it did give Bryan a few favorable field positions, and we talked about that last week. When Huntsville fell down 15-0 to Brenham, it was because they beat themselves. They gave Brenham good field position with turnovers, with mistakes, with penalties, and that's something that I think needs to be cleaned up going forward. And again, almost a turnover there on that muffed punt by Savion Conte. Thankfully, the Hornets were able to recover it. It's just a bunch of mental things that need to be cleaned up going forward, like Coach talked about at halftime.
We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, it's Hornets Nest with Shannon Duncan talking about all the latest in and around Huntsville ISD and with your Huntsville Hornet athletic squads as well. All coming up as part of the Northside Baptist Church halftime report here in Huntsville. Again, Huntsville leads it 21-14 over Bryan in week 2 of the high school football regular season. It's Huntsville Hornet football on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, powered by KSAM Sports. Back here at Huntsville ISD Stadium as we are continuing our Northside Baptist Church halftime report with your Huntsville Hornets leading 21-14 over the Bryan Vikings. Alongside me is Houston Hardcastle. My name is Jordan Smith as we welcome you back into the Frank's Taco Station broadcast booth. And Houston, you know, we've talked about some of the standout players on the offensive side so far in this ballgame. We've had some pretty good defensive standouts as well. One of them being Kenneth Scott III. He has a lot of great coverage so far in this ballgame. Even had the Superman dive to get the interception earlier, that being the defense's third interception throughout the first 2 weeks of the regular season. Now, of course, he was beat by Lewis on that first touchdown for them, but you got to give credit to Lewis. That was an outstanding catch, only a catch that he could make in only a spot that his quarterback knows to throw it in. You got to give credit where credit's due, but it was very tight coverage nonetheless, and he had to make an acrobatic catch just to even have a shot. So credit to Kenneth Scott there as well for the coverage.
Yeah, like you talked about, he was in perfect position there. It's just a well-placed ball and an even better athletic catch there by Terrence Lewis over there in the right corner of the end zone. And you talk about Kenneth Scott, he has an interception, but he should have two. He had the dropped interception near the end of half, which, I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to have dropped interceptions just like a receiver has dropped passes. You just got to move on from it. And it didn't end up hurting Huntsville because, like, a million field goal attempts that Bryan got at the end of the half didn't go in, thankfully. But like I said, Kenneth Scott has been great tonight. There's been a couple of guys who have really McCork Norman has made some really big tackles. Some tackles for loss, some instant tackles. He's been really good tonight. Shiloh Jones is always the senior linebacker, always makes plays for the Huntsville Hornets. And it's just been a really well-rounded game from everybody. We talk about standouts, but overall, as a defensive unit, the Huntsville Hornets started off a little slow, like we talked about. Terrence Lewis just did whatever he wanted to, and like I said, flashbacks as a Texans fan, T.Y. Hilton all over again.
Don't bring up that name. It haunts me to this day.
Right. But, you know, it just seemed like he could do whatever he wanted to do. But thankfully, Huntsville was able to really figure out the Bryan game plan after that. And Bryan found a little shades of success like we talked about in the running game. But I think overall Huntsville has played a lot better defensively. And I think coming out of halftime, I expect to see some turnovers for that defense.
Hornet Military Marching Band out on the field right now. Again, part of the Senior Day festivities and just regular halftime show as well. But always great to see them out on the field performing. A lot of great performances as well from them. You talked about all the standouts on the defensive side as well. And you talked about it briefly in the first segment of this Northside Baptist Church halftime report. The penalties. 6 so far through the first half, on pace to match and surpass by 1 last week's total of 11. You're on pace to get 12 again here, and probably about the same amount of yardage as well. You do have the lead right now, but again, it almost feels like an eerily similar situation to last week against Brenham, where who knows, you could see an offensive onslaught come up in this second half, especially to start it, just like we saw in the first half, to start off the ball game. And you saw how things ended, 35-plus points for each side for Huntsville and Brenham last week. You're not too far off of matching that pace here as well for both of these sides, but it's really going to depend on that defensive secondary. Huntsville has had a decent job so far, especially the big throw plays. Now, granted, Turner has been able to kind of shake that secondary a little bit and get some pass plays, especially to Lewis, who has been the main deep target for them. But fact of the matter being, you still have an opportunity if you're Huntsville to try to limit those, force them to run. Now, you force them to run, you still have to stop the two-headed monster of Tynus Reynolds and Jevelyn Wade. They have been a two-headed monster in that backfield. Whoever it's been, no matter what, obviously Reynolds getting the majority of the carries so far tonight for them. But they have got just as good of a rushing attack as Huntsville does in this ballgame, with Trayshawn Brown and Austin Taylor combining for their runs as well.
Yeah, and you talk about Brenham last week. I mean, not just penalties, but there's 1 or 2 plays in that game where if the ball bounces another way, Huntsville wins that game. They come out of that game 1-0. It's just a couple of plays and turnovers, and you don't want to put yourself in the situation where turnovers are either drive killers or they just put your team in a bad situation. You don't want those to affect your team, basically, in a sense. And again, it is only week 2. They're still figuring some things out. A lot of that is just miscommunication on the Huntsville front seven or back seven, defensive line, and you just need to figure out how to limit those penalties, almost said turnovers. You need to figure out how to limit those penalties on the offensive and defensive side because, again, they're going to put you in situations that are not favorable. And you come out of that game last week in Brenham, you don't have a couple of those penalties, you win the game. You are 1-0 right now. So if they don't clean that up, even if you are the better team on paper, it doesn't matter.
Take a quick break. Once again, when we come back, we'll have our halftime adjustments with Houston Hardcastle, not Brian Adams tonight. Again, filling in for Carlos Zimmerman and Brian Adams as they are hanging out in Central Florida. Appreciate you guys if you're tuning in from the Sunshine State, wherever you're tuning in, whether it be the FM airwaves, the KSAM mobile app, or the 101.7 KSAM YouTube channel. We appreciate you tuning in. Again, about 5 minutes left to go in the Northside Baptist Church Halftime Report. We'll be back with the halftime adjustments after this here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here for the Northside Baptist Halftime Report, your Huntsville Hornets leading 21-14 over the Bryan Vikings. Jordan Smith here alongside me is Houston Hardcastle. Quickly here, as we get ready to start the second half in a couple minutes from now, give us your quick halftime adjustments.
I've talked about it all night. You've got to limit those penalties and just come out with the attitude that you are not going to be penalized at all. I mean, in a perfect world, you have 0 penalties. Obviously, this isn't a perfect world that we live in. But if you can limit those penalties as much as you can, then I think it's going to be a much cleaner second half for the Huntsville Hornets. And finally, you just need to figure out how to limit that passing game of Bryan, which they did going into the second quarter. Figure out how to adjust that. That might not be a halftime adjustment. Looks like Southern's already adjusted that, but looks like. And again, if the passing game's not working for Bryan, limit the run game. That's my adjustment to the game. Is going to be defense, defense, defense. If you get some turnovers here in the second half, put yourself in some favorable situations, I think the Huntsville Hornets can really start to blow the top off this game.
Quick look at the around the district scoreboard. PNG leads Beaumont United 35-0 with 10.5 minutes left in the third quarter of play. Montgomery Lake Creek, the Lions lead St. Thomas 19-10 as they are just about ready to start the third quarter of play. At halftime, West Fork leads Cleveland 14-0. West Orange Stark leading Nederland 13-0 with 10 minutes left to go in the third. Montgomery leads Caney Creek 37-14 at the halftime break. Also at the halftime break, Kingwood Park leads Dayton 17-7. And at halftime, Liberty and Splendora tied at 7 apiece. That has been your Northside Baptist Church halftime report. When we come back, second half of action between the Hornets and the Vikings, live from Huntsville ISD Stadium here in the gateway to the East Texas Piney Woods, here for some Friday night action on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here in the East Texas Piney Woods, the gateway that is, as we get ready for the second half of action between your Huntsville Hornets and the Bryan Vikings. 21-14 is the score here in this one. Huntsville leading Bryan as we get ready to start second half of play for the Amaya's Collision Center third quarter. Alongside me is using Hardcastle. My name is Jordan Smith. Down on the sideline is the third member of our broadcast crew in Emma Sims. We will get to her a little bit later on in this third quarter of play, as we are just about set and ready to kick things away. It'll be Huntsville sending it over by Caleb Kulak. Back deep to receive one of the two men is Terrence Lewis. Kulak races up to the 40 and kicks it straight to Lewis to get the second half underway. A little squib kick that bounces and is recovered at the 19-yard line. Tries to switch field as he goes from left to right across your radio dial. Spin move, but is tackled at the waist and thrown down at about the 28-yard line. Just a quick reminder for those watching on the KSAM YouTube channel, and tonight's broadcast is brought to you in 2K quality with an enhanced 4K presentation. Closed captioning is also available for the hearing impaired. Bryan taking their time to get back on the field. Again, they will start on their own 27-yard line, moving left to right across your radio dials. 1st and 10, Turner back out there in shotgun formation with two receivers to his right. Two safety formation for Huntsville as it's a handoff to Runnels. He'll go to the left side. He's boomsticked right at about the 34-yard line. Not enough for a first down, but good enough for a 7-yard gain.
We talked about this at halftime. You were able to limit Bryan's passing attack there near the end of the second quarter, but if you can't let him get going on the ground either, you got to stifle him in all areas.
Stopped in the backfield. Good pressure by the defense. Right up there to get the stop, Isaiah Lewis and Tyler Smith. A loss of a few on the play. It's now third down and about 6 coming up here.
Third down. Good situation here for the Huntsville Hornet defense, limiting them, or putting Bryan in a third and pretty long situation.
Trying to look around, he'll run it himself with Turner. Gets the first down, a little bit more, trucks a couple Hornets, and will race out of bounds just near the 45-yard line. A good gain on the play for the Vikings as it moves the chains, 1st and 10.
Can we talk about the quarterback using his legs out there? I mean, he is just able to escape the pocket, find a seam up the middle of the field. Like you said, truck a couple of Hornet defenders and get a first down. Keeps the Bryan drive alive here in Huntsville.
1st and 10, 10:57 left to go in the Amaya's Collision Center third quarter of play. Handoff to Runnels. He'll go to the far sideline. Stopped in the backfield by a couple of Hornets. That sworn defense to the 42-yard line. Loss of 3 on the play. One of the men that was back there to make the stop looked to be Peyton Pryor.
Good job by Peyton Pryor, the senior safety, able to recognize that play and bring him down for a loss of a couple. Bring up 2nd and 13 here for Bryan.
2nd 13, ball on the 42-yard line on the Viking side of the 50. Fake handoff. Turner keeps it himself. Now goes to the left side. He'll get past the original line of scrimmage across the 50 into Hornet territory and will sidestep his way out of bounds. They'll say just ahead of the first down marker, down to the 44-yard line. A new set of downs, 1st and 10 here in this one, as they look to try a no-huddle offense. 10:15 left to go in the third quarter of play in the Amaya's Collision Center third quarter. 21-14 the score, Huntsville over Bryan. Shotgun formation, two receivers to the near sideline. Handoff to Runnels, up the gut. Not going to get much of anything. That defensive line right there for progression stops him at the line of scrimmage. On the stop, Isaiah Lewis, the junior defensive lineman. While we have a second, let's go down to the third member of our crew in Emma Sims, who has a little bit of information on why these kickoffs, we've talked about it as a reoccurring theme, why some of these kickoffs have gone the way they have.
So I mean, the wind right now is about 10 miles an hour, which is really causing those balls whenever you're kicking off or even punting just to drift to the side. It's not helping it carry as much, which is what you want for the wind. It's not helping it carry and it's not helping it stop. So that's really what's happening whenever it's going the side to side. It's just that wind. It's mainly a crosswind here on the stadium at the field.
Thank you, Emma, for that report. And yeah, we even saw it on the kickoff to start the second half. It was a pooch kick, but it still came to that near sideline, even though it was a bit of a line drive. So still rolling in from the opposing bleachers here. Short third down situation, Runnels to the near sideline. Will just get enough and a touch more. A gain of 3 on the play on 3rd down and 2 to make it a new set of downs for the Vikings now on their own, on the Huntsville, 33-yard line. Again, moving left to right across your radio dials. 9 minutes left to go in the Amaya Collision Center third quarter. Huntsville leads 21-14 over Bryan here in week 2 of the regular season. Little wildcat formation as Lewis is in the shotgun, keeping himself off a bobbled snap. Tackle for a couple of yards, loss of gain on the play. Kenneth Scott the third, the one to make the tackle with the 2-yard loss. And it's now 2nd and 12 coming up.
Good play there by the Hornet defense. A couple of wildcat formations here by Bryan. Huntsville able to sniff it out. A bad snap by the Bryan center there. And it just leads them to lose a couple of yards, bring up a 2nd and long here. Don't want to put yourself in these situations if you're Bryan.
2 receivers to the far side for Bryan, 2 safety formation for Huntsville. Hit as he's thrown is Turner, but gets the throw off just in time with the blind side coming at him. And it's good enough for what looks to be about a 6, maybe 5-yard gain on the play. Look to mark it at about the 28, so 3rd down and 5 coming up off the 7-yard gain.
And a good completion there by the Bryan quarterback. He's able to get a couple yards there because he had McCorrick Norman coming right off the sideline, a steaming bull with tunnel vision going towards the quarterback, but he's able to get it out, get a nice gain, bring up a 3rd and 5.
2 safeties again for the Huntsville Hornets defensively. Turner will go to his right in the shotgun. Thought about throwing, will roll it himself. Gets the 1st down and a little bit more up to the 20. They'll mark him out of bounds at the 19. Now in the red zone is Bryan. And it moved the chains once again for another 1st down. 7:33 left to go in the Amaya Collision Center third quarter of play. Huntsville leads 21-14 over the Vikings, but Bryan is threatening to try to tie it for the 3rd time tonight.
Yeah, and Bryan's really found their footing here with the run game. A couple of big runs by their quarterback, Turner, able to just use his legs and his big frame to truck a couple Hornet defenders and get some extra yards after the run.
Shotgun snap, hands it out to the back in Runnels. Tries to shimmy a man, and Kenneth Scott the third can't do so as he stops progression. The rest of the defense gets there, but not before a couple yards of gain on the play to the 17-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 8 coming up as the clock continues to wind down.
Yeah, and good recognition there by Kenneth Scott, able to initially get to him, get to the running back, and wait for the rest of the team to swarm. Huntsville playing that swarm style of defense all night. Continues there. It brings up a 2nd and about, looks like they're going to give him a 3-yard gain there, bring up 2nd and 7.
Taking their time, trying to figure out what they want from the sideline. They're not down by much, so time right now isn't as much of a factor. If this was 2 minutes left to go in the ball game, maybe so. But we still got another 18 minutes left in this one, so 7 points isn't that much of an issue. A little bit of a timing mishap by the cross route, and because of that, it stopped the attempt by Javelin Wade to go up the gut. Gets a loss of a few on the play, in fact, about 4 officially. Back to the edge of the red zone at the 20-yard line. 3rd down and 11, and here comes that Huntsville defense once again.
And this is a situation for Huntsville where you cannot give up a 1st down to Bryan. That would be an absolute momentum killer. You've got the crowd behind you. They're playing this music at the stadium. It's 3rd down. Go get a stop here and get them off the field because as we've seen with the wind, the special teams just haven't been there tonight.
2 receivers to the far side here on 3rd down and 11. Low snap once again. Turner gets it, throws to the sideline, or tries to go to the sideline. Instead, he throws 5 yards past the back of the end zone. You're wanting intentional grounding, but there was technically a receiver in the area. And it looked like a mishap there, plus a little bit of pressure coming up on Turner as well. Good job by that front 7 of that Huntsville defense to use that swarm mentality. And now, Bryan will try for the field goal.
Yeah, and like we've talked about, the special teams have been a little bit iffy here tonight for both teams. It's a pretty long field goal. Let's see if he can put it through here to put Bryan down by just 4 instead of 7.
A 37-yard field goal try by Nelson Amaya Collision Center. Snap, hold, kick, and through the uprights.
Yeah, great hold, great kick there by the Bryan kicker. Is able to put it through the uprights, cut into that Hornet lead a little bit. Now if you're Huntsville, you're only up 4 here. You have to respond.
Take a quick break for 30 seconds. When we come back, Huntsville will get the ball. 5:56 left to go in this third quarter. Back after this on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here in Huntsville, 21-17, almost at 14 the score. The field goal there was good by Bryan to bring them back a little closer, but only 4. So still need a touchdown to take the lead. A field goal would only bring it to a 1-score difference. 5:56 left to go in the Amaya Collision Center, third quarter of play. A squib kick, little poocher, that forces Adolph to come up to about the 25. He'll tightrope down the near sideline once again to the 50. Stiff arms the tackler before he's thrown down by the wayside in Bryan Viking territory to the 39-yard line.
Man, this kid just brings so much electricity. Anytime Zay Adolphi's on the field, you know he's going to have a good play, good return there by the freshman. He just brings so much energy and life into this offense, and being a young guy, just being out there and able to bring so much electricity to a Huntsville Hornet offense, it's great to see, and now they have great field position. This should be an easy drive for the Hornets.
Huntsville moving right to left across your radio dials. 5:49 left to go in the Amaya Collision Center, third quarter of play. They lead 21-17 over Bryan. Man in motion is Singletary, 2 receivers to the far sideline. Here's a handoff to Trayshawn Brown. Goes to the far side, goes through a seam, gets past the 35-yard line, down to the 33. A gain of 7 on the play. 2nd and 3 coming up.
Here comes that smash mouth Hornet style of football. Just running the ball to Trayshawn Brown. Just give him the ball and get out of the way. See what he can do here on this drive for Huntsville.
Again, we talked about it earlier this ball game. Trayshawn Brown, a player who really started to make some shine last season as part of that deep playoff run. Had a huge playoff game as well against Austin LBJ out in Waco. Really put himself on the map. And is part of the reason why he has a starting job here today. Speaking of which, another handoff to him. But that pressure right there. And they're going to say at the moment, at most a 1-yard loss, but there is a flag on the play. And it was thrown right about where the tackle was made. So we'll listen to the white hat and see what he has to say.
Holding, offense, number 75. 10-yard penalty, replay, 2nd down.
Lasalilo Moreno, the junior offensive lineman, was called for the penalty. I believe that's now his 3rd himself in the ball game here tonight. Not something you want to see at all, especially in a situation where you're trying to limit penalties each game, and now he has a little bit over half, or a little bit over a quarter, I should say, actually, maybe about 40%-ish, maybe, of the penalties so far by Huntsville tonight.
Yeah, and you go from a 2nd and short to a 2nd and long now. Again, Huntsville just shooting themselves in the foot over and over.
2nd and 13, ball on the Bryan 43-yard line. Taylor looking around, doesn't have options. Trying to see if he can scramble. Now tucks it into his left elbow. He'll try to run out of bounds right at about the 41-yard line. Couple yards of gain on the play. They may favor him back to the original line of scrimmage. They do. It looks to be on the 40-yard line. Nope, now they'll move it back, so officially a 2-yard gain. Referees couldn't decide what they wanted to do with it. 4:45 left to go in the Amaya Collision Center, third quarter of play. Huntsville leads Bryan 21-17 here in week 2 of the high school football season. 2 receivers to the far sideline with 1 safety back deep, mostly a corner set for the Bryan defense. Here is a handoff to Adolph. As that went right back to the line of scrimmage, no more on the gain. It'll be 4th and 10, actually a 1-yard gain officially. So it'll be 4th and 10, and here comes the punting unit for Huntsville.
And you talk about Huntsville, when they started this drive, this was their drive to respond to that Bryan field goal, and just unable to respond. Again, we talk about it. Penalties just being a drive killer there for the Hornets. They get to a 2nd and 3 after a 7-yard run by Trayshawn Brown. Then they have a holding penalty that backs them up to a 2nd and long, and then a 3rd and long, and then a 4th and long. Penalties just continue to plague Huntsville this season.
Caleb Kulak back deep to send this one away. Terrence Lewis back deep for Bryan, standing at about his own 10-yard line. Low snap, sent away though. Try to go a little coffin corner with it. Still in bounds as it'll bounce out at about the 16, maybe 17. We'll see where they spot it. Officially at the 17-yard line. While we have a second, let's thank some more of our wonderful sponsors who make this broadcast possible.
Walker County Federal Credit Union, serving Walker County since 1957. Your full-service community credit union, member NUCA. Northside Baptist Church, growing people in Christ to reach others for Christ. And finally, Wiesner of Huntsville, home of the bottom line.
Huntsville defense back out there. We'll see what they can do. Like we talked about at halftime, seeing, Kenneth Scott III, McCourt Norman have been two really big stars for this defense here so far tonight with big plays. We'll see what the secondary does, because you've seen it. This offense is not afraid to go deep down the field like they have multiple times here to start the second half. Two receivers to the far sideline. Turner with a couple exaggerated pumps gets the snap, hands it off to the running back. And actually looks like it'll be Lewis who gets the handoff there. No, it will actually be Runnels back in the ball game. A gain of about 5 on the play. So 2nd and medium, 2nd and 5 coming up on Bryan's own 21-yard line. It'll actually be 4 now as they moved it back. It originally was spotted at the 22. 3.5 minutes left to go in the Amias Collision Center third quarter of play. 21-17, Huntsville leads Bryan here in this one. High snap, Turner with the handoff once again to Runnels, but the defense right there after a couple of yards, and that's about it. To the 23-yard line is where forward progression stops, and now sets up a 3rd and medium, about 3rd and 4 to go.
And this is a situation you have got to get Bryan off the field here. Like we talked about of the drive, the field goal drive that happened earlier. 3rd down is where you need to get this team off the field, because they have just been, every time they've gotten a 3rd down conversion, they have gone down and scored. So they need to be stopped right here.
It's 3rd down here in Huntsville. Crowd trying to get their team pumped up on this hopeful stop. Fake handoff, long pass over the middle, way incomplete. Intended target on the play, Cameron Glade, the player who has made a couple plays himself for this Bryan Viking offense, but because of the miscue, it is 4th down now, and the Vikings will have to send this one away back to Huntsville.
Yeah, Turner just tried to lob a rainbow up there to Cameron Glade. Looks like it might have just been a step or two in front of him. He had some pretty good separation there on the Huntsville secondary, but unfortunately, he was unable to get that one there. It brings up 4th down for the Huntsville defense, and Huntsville could get some pretty favorable field position here.
Everybody's getting set and ready. Braylon Phelps back deep to receive for Huntsville, standing at his own 43-yard line. Low snap, little bobble as it bounced off the turf, but sent regardless with ease. This one caught at the 40-yard line. Here comes Phelps with it now. Across the 45, tripped up at the 46, as it looked like he had to start. He started to have a little bit of open space in front of him. But hold on, we got a flag on the field, right about where the punt did happen.
Let's see what the white hat says here. Might be against Bryan. Still some deliberation here from the refereeing crew.
Now the call from the white hat.
During the kick, personal foul, face mask, Bryan, number 1, 15-yard penalty from the dead ball spot. 1st down, Huntsville.
While they get the new spot settled, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here in this one, Bryan will start their drive, or excuse me, Huntsville will start their drive on the Bryan 39-yard line. Again, moving right to left across your radio dials. 2:31 left to go in the Amaya Collision Center third quarter of play. 21-17 the score. Huntsville leads, and a probably false start. There it is.
Offense, number 50, 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Trey Williams, his first time being called tonight on a flag, the junior offensive lineman. That'll back him up 5, so first down and 15 coming up.
Just mental error after mental error here for Huntsville. You have the ball in favorable field position in Bryan territory, backs you up just a little bit, brings up a first down and long. Wouldn't be surprised if you see a little run play here to try and get back to that original line of scrimmage.
Shotgun snap, handoff. Brown once again gets past one tackler, try to get him by the arm, and bull rushes his way past the original line of scrimmage to the 43-yard line to make it a second down and 8 situation.
Timeout. Timeout for an injured player.
Injury timeout as it looks to be Jason Flintroy, the junior defensive lineman. He quickly takes himself off the field here, so it won't be much of a timeout. But you kind of look at how things have gone so far in this second half. We were wondering whether the offense was really going to shine again or whether it was going to be more of a defensive showcase like we saw those final 18 minutes of the first half. It's a defensive showcase so far besides the field goal for Bryan.
Yeah, and so far it's been Huntsville just making those same mental mistakes, false starts, holding calls that have pushed them back into unfavorable territory. Good run, though, by Trayshawn Brown to bring up a second and about 8, though, for the Huntsville offense.
Man in motion is Singletary. Shotgun snap, handoff to Brown as he'll change direction and go to the near sideline to the 34-yard line. Gain of about 3 or so on the play. Not much to it as it'll make it a 3rd and 5 situation coming up.
Good tackle there by Carson Dodd, the junior linebacker for the Bryan Vikings, able to bring Trayshawn Brown down. Trayshawn Brown's got some pretty game-breaking speed there in the backfield, and if he gets away from him, he might have a little more than the initial 2 that he got there.
3rd and 5 on the Bryan 34-yard line. Austin in the shotgun, gets a snap, hands it off once again to Brown. Trying a couple juke moves himself on the PlayStation controller. Not enough for the first down, though, as he just gets to the 30-yard line. A gain of 4, not 5 like they needed. And so with that comes the special teams unit. Actually, no, they'll stay on the field and they'll go for it. 4th down and 1 coming up here in this Amaya's Collision Center third quarter. 1:08 left to go in the third quarter. Once again in victory formation. Now they'll look back to the sideline. Watch the tush push. They've already used it a couple times so far here tonight.
And they bring in Shiloh Jones, the senior linebacker, to really get that push going.
Here comes the man in motion, hands it off. Here comes Adolph, wide open, touchdown. 30-yard rush on a 4th and 1, and it turns into 6.
Good play there by the freshman running back. And, you know, subversion of expectations there by Coach Rodney Southern. You bring out Shiloh Jones. It's going push all the way. He pitches it to the outside, leaving it wide open. Good play call there by Rodney Southern to get the Huntsville Hornet offense into the end zone. Touchdown Hornets.
Now time for a Nelson Amaya Collision Center point after try after the touchdown brought to you by MRC Creekside. It'll be Kulak in for the point after to make it an 11-point contest. Everybody set, ready, snap, hold, kick through the uprights with ease. 28-17 the score. 47 seconds left to go in the Amaya's Collision Center third quarter of play. Take a quick break, be back here to Huntsville after this on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here in Huntsville, Texas, 28-17 the score. Huntsville ahead of Bryan. Another line drive kick. This one mishandled on the line drive. Not exactly sure why Jamarcus Joshua tried to catch it there on the line drive, as he'd just dive on it now. But either way, that is how we start things here. Coming out of the break, Jordan Smith here alongside me, Houston Hardcastle. Third member of our team down on the sideline is Miss Emma Sims, filling in. Appreciate your great work as always here for us on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, wherever you're listening to us, whether it be on the FM airwaves, the KSAM mobile app, or the 101.7 KSAM YouTube channel. We appreciate you tuning in tonight. Again, a rematch of a Week 2 matchup last year where Huntsville got the win big time out in the Bryan College Station area. They're looking to get another win here today and turn their season around and try to get back to 500. Turner slowly makes his way out to the field with two receivers to his left as the Vikings go left to right across your radio dials. Fake handoff on the shotgun snap. Goes over the middle. This one is caught and then incomplete. DeAndre Williams trying to get a basket catch, just not able to get a clean handle on it there. In coverage, the senior safety, Braylon Phelps.
Ooh, man, Hornets got a break there. That was a pretty good throw under pressure by senior quarterback Boone Turner, looking down the field, and just a drop by DeAndre Williams. A pretty well-placed ball considering the circumstances. Huntsville gets lucky there.
Back here in the Frank Taco Station broadcast booth with two men to the far sideline on 2nd down and 10. Here's a handoff to the back in Wade, it looks like, who checks into the ball game. Not enough for the first, but a good gain regardless of about 8. The referee keeps moving. I just want you to stop there. Now it's 7, officially stops. And this will probably run out the clock to end the third quarter. I would not expect them to call another play here, but with 14 seconds left, you never know what they'll try to do.
I try to draw Huntsville off sides here. Let's see if the Hornets are disciplined enough, or they might run a play. Let's see.
And they, in fact, do run a play to end the third quarter. It'll be once again the running back who ends up getting a first down in Javelin Wade. So it pays off for Bryan, not as much for Huntsville. But it's the end of the third quarter. Put your fours up to the sky. We're coming back with the final 12 minutes of play after this. Huntsville leads 28-17. And we come back to the gateway to the East Texas Piney Woods here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the Frank Taco Station broadcast booth as we get you set and ready for the Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter of action. 12 minutes left to go in this one. Huntsville leads Bryan 28-17 on the Hornet Nation broadcast network, and we're going to start off, I think, with a false start. Aim agencies with the laundry on the field there. Let's set the scene for you. Huntsville leads 28-17 over the Bryan Vikings as Bryan starts this quarter on their own side of the 50, having to back up now because of the penalty. Back to their own 37-yard line is where things will start. Jordan Smith here alongside me, Houston Hardcastle, Emma Sims down on the sideline as well. We will get to her throughout the rest of this ball game and also hear from her with head coach Rodney Southern after this one is over with, and a whistle before the play starts. No flag on the field. Maybe a procedural thing. Maybe they weren't ready. Maybe the umpire was still standing there as a defensive lineman.
All right, now we can get the quarter underway.
There's no TV, even though we have the video broadcast. There is no official TV, so there's no waiting for the red hat or anything like that. Here's the handoff and a big tackle there at the knees as Wade was starting to get some speed on the outside, making the tackle Peyton Pryor. And it stops what would have been a huge gain for Bryan, but now it's a 2nd down and 11.
2nd down and pretty long here for Bryan. Let's see what they do. Open up the playbook.
2 receivers on the near side, fake handoff, going deep down the far sideline and just ahead of the intended target and Terrence Lewis by about a few yards. Once again, Pryor on that play in coverage as it is now 3rd down and 11.
We've talked about offensive miscues for both sides tonight. Looked like a bit of a miscue between QB and receiver there. It looked like Lewis had a little bit of hesitation in running that route. I'm not sure if that was designed or maybe he just didn't know what he was running. Regardless, it is incomplete, and it's going to bring up 3rd and pretty long for Bryan. 3rd and about 11.
2 receivers on the near sideline. Huntsville in their typical 2-safety formation. Fake handoff. Here's Turner with pressure on him. Going to his right. Evades the pressure. Now jukes a man as he gets back to the original line of scrimmage, but not anything else. A gain of 1 after running for about 20 on that play. We'll bring it back to the 42-yard line, and we'll make it 4th down and 10, and here comes the special teams unit for Bryan.
And good play to get pressure in the backfield there by Zach Moss, the senior defensive lineman, chasing Turner all over the field, making him work for that 1 yard. Like you said, running 20 just to gain 1. Going to bring out the punt unit here, and if Huntsville's able to score here, you really think they could maybe blow the top off this one. We've been saying it all night. I know. We've been saying it all night, blow the top off, but this might be the drive.
Crew Chilton, the one to send it deep for Bryan. Back deep to return for Huntsville is Braylon Phelps. Easy as pie for Chilton to send this one away. Phelps will back away, let this one bounce, as that will touch a Viking. Wait a couple seconds, and they grab it, but they will give it that original spot at the 22-yard line. While we have a quick second, let's take a couple more of our wonderful sponsors who make this broadcast possible.
MRC Creekside Retirement Home, a healthy living senior community. Bill Fick Ford, no bull, just good deals. Moke & Moke Attorneys at Law. For your planning, real estate, or business law needs, call Moke & Moke, serving Huntsville since 1971. Heritage Oak Funeral Home, deeply rooted in and serving the community for over 30 years. And Frank's Taco Station in Riverside, country kitchen, tacos, and more.
Zay Adolph checks into the ball game as the signal caller here. Again, using that little bit of a package that we saw in the first quarter of action. He has 4 wide. Instead, he'll take it himself. Up the gut, has a lane, gets a couple, but nothing else. Up to the 24-yard line is where 2nd and 8 will start. 11:02 left to go in the 4th quarter of play. As the clock will stop, they'll reset it here as a few seconds winded down because of an injury timeout. While there is an injury timeout on the field, we will take a quick break. We'll be back after this here in Huntsville. 28-17 the score on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, as they still tend to the player on the field. Let's reset the scene for you. 28-17 is the score. 10:59 left to go here in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home 4th quarter of play. Jordan Smith here alongside of me is Houston Hardcastle. We'll hear later on from our 3rd member of the team in Emma Sims. Justin Hardcastle behind us. Great work in the in-house engineer room, as well as Michael and Colin back at the KSAM flagship studio. Appreciate all of your hard work throughout this young season thus far. Again, want to say thank you to everybody tuning in, whether you're listening on the FM airwaves, whether you're listening on the KSAM mobile app or on our website, ksam1017.com, or on the 101.7 KSAM YouTube channel. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. All right, Carlos wanted a shout out. He said I was taking his Gateway to the East Texas Piney Woods line. To rebuttal that, he took my moving left to right and right to left across your radio dial line. So I think we're even, Carlos. I think we're even with that sharing of taglines, if you will. But looks like the injured Viking is now being helped up with the help of the Bryan training staff. You know, and something when you take a look at it, it looks like Kiana Van Gilbert, I believe, is the one who is being held to the side. Yes, it is. But something we've seen a bit, I don't know if it's just fatigue, if it's cramp, whatever it is. We're not going to speculate. But there seems to have been a lot of players who have been getting hurt. And you usually see that in the early part of the season. Everybody's finally getting back to game action, you know, not adjusted to it because they haven't played game action in 9 months.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. You never want to see injuries in the game of football. You want to, in a perfect world, come out injury-free. But, yeah, just been a couple of early injuries here for Bryan, especially had a few guys go down, a couple linebackers and defensive linemen. It's just been, you hate to see it.
Quick screen to the outside to Hunter Lorenz on this second down play. We'll get a gain of 1 to the 25, not much else. Once again, still in there at quarterback, Zay Adolph, the fresh and signal caller in there for this package on this play. Again, 10:38 and counting left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter of play. Huntsville leads Bryan 28-17, week 2 of the high school football season. 4 wide, but 2 to each side here on the line of scrimmage as well. Jerry Singletary lining up in the tight end position. They'll hand it off. Nope, he'll keep it himself. Quarterback rush to the left side. Pushes a man about 5 yards in front of him with the lead blockers and gets to the 35-yard line. More than enough for a new set of downs. A 10-yard gain for a Mocha attorney at law. First down.
There we go. A good run there by the freshman. Just able to keep the Hornet offense on the field. It was a 3rd and 9, and Zay was able to get it into a first down situation. Good play there. He just brings so much electricity into this offense. We've seen Southern have him take a few snaps at quarterback here tonight. Really brought some life into this Huntsville offense that has looked a little stagnant here in the second half.
Once again, same formation here on this new set of downs. It'll be a run to the right side. Gets quite a few yards, actually. Looks to be about the 40. They'll call it the 41. On the run for Adolph, so a 6-yard gain on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 4 coming up.
And looks like he's staying out there at quarterback. Coach Southern using him in the quarterback spot here late in the game. Has a lot of faith in the freshman to be able to close out this game.
And like you said, he's been moving the ball down the field with, I don't want to say ease, but it's been efficient. And that's what you want to see, especially from a young signal caller. You want to see efficiency. You know, whether it be the running game or him being able to get the passing game going. Speaking of which, here's a rushing game. First down and a whole lot more into Bryan territory on the run there. Jacavian Burks, a sophomore running back who also made a name for himself during the regional final playoff run for Huntsville last year. Gets his first carry on the night. And it's now another Mocha attorney at law first down into Bryan territory.
Interesting that the Huntsville offense is relying a lot on these young guys going forward. A sophomore and a freshman really leading the offense right now. Like you said, efficient driving down the field, able to get them into Bryan territory.
2 receivers to the far side. Single safety formation for the Bryan defense on 1st and 10 on the Bryan 35-yard line. 9 minutes left to go in this final quarter of play. Handoff once again, going to the near side. It is Brown back in the ball game. Did he get past the first down marker? Yes, he did, and a whole lot more. Down to the 20-yard line, a gain of 15 on the play. A new Mocha attorney at law first down, and now sitting in the Murray Insurance and Financial Services red zone.
This is probably one of the most efficient drives that Huntsville has had all day, and it's been all on the ground. That's their brand of football, like we talked about before the game and a little bit at halftime. Just go back to your roots, go back to what you know your offense can do. Really pounding and grounding here in Huntsville, Texas, are the Hornets, and this gets them into the red zone on probably their most efficient drive of the day.
Same formation on the new set of downs, 1st and 10 on the Bryan 20-yard line. Here's a handoff. Once again, the back is Burke. Spin moves out of a man. Bull rushes his way through another. A couple more. He takes inside the 5-yard line. Maurice Jones-Drew-esque to the 4-yard line.
How about Burks able to really just fight after contact, get a few extra yards? Initially looked like he might go down after just the first down, but he said, no, I want a little bit more. Gets the Hornets inside the 5-yard line. A great scoring opportunity here for Huntsville.
Injured player Wyatt Bryan having to leave the game for the Vikings. 8:40 left to go in this Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter. 28-17 is the score. Huntsville leads Bryan here in this one. Again, deep in the Murray Assurance and Financial Services red zone. As we bring it back here in the Frank's Taco Station broadcast booth, Jordan Smith here alongside of me is Houston Hardcastle, again down on the sideline. Running the third spot of the broadcast tonight is Emma Sims. We'll go to her a little bit later in the broadcast here tonight.
Please reset the game clock to 8:45.
So they bring back 5 seconds as the clock did run off a little bit when they weren't wanting it to. Looking towards the sideline again, still Adolph in the signal caller spot. And here they go once again. Victory formation to look for a quick rush as they line the ball at the 3-yard line. They will have the quarterback run it himself. We'll see if they call it, but looks like he may have gotten in there. All the coaches are screaming touchdown. Some of the players are screaming touchdown, but none of the officials are screaming touchdown. Now they do. 3-yard rushing touchdown for Zay Adolph, the freshman quarterback, and Huntsville extends their lead now and potentially, I only say potentially because it is high school football, you never know, but they may have just put the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and that was a great drive by Huntsville, really leaning on those young guys like we talked about. Zay and Burks having a couple big plays there. Trayshawn Brown got in there a little bit, but like I said, going back to what your offense is good at, ground and pound has really been Huntsville's brand of football during their history, and it was on display there.
Caleb Kulak in for the Nelson Amaya Collision Center point after try, snap, hold, kick. And that one goes to the uprights after the MRC Creekside touchdown play. 35-17, Huntsville leads Bryan with 8:34 left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter of play. Back after this on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here in Huntsville, Texas, 8:34 left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter of play. Huntsville leads this one 35-17 after a very, very efficient drive from Zay Adolph, the freshman quarterback, getting called in. Wouldn't be surprised if they end up just relying on him the rest of the ball game and having Austin Taylor rest for the rest of it just because of the lead that they have of 18.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, I mean, like we talked about, that was probably the best Huntsville's offense has looked all night after that first quarter where it looked like to be an offensive shootout. It was just a great play.
Pooch kick by Kulak will be received at the 24-yard line. This run taken by Zacadian Weathersby. Can't do much, though. Only horizontal, no vertical running, as he'll actually lose a couple of yards back to the 22-yard line.
Whew, good tackle there by the senior safety, Braylon Phelps. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Transitioning from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side of the ball, he's just been a great asset here for the Hornet defense tonight. Just tough as nails kid, just making play after play. You saw it there on special teams. Great play on the Huntsville special teams.
While we have a quick second, let's take a second to thank a couple more of our sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Nelson's Amaya Collision Center, honest work, quality service. AIM Agencies, we work hard to help clients obtain and understand the insurance that's right for them, the best policy for the right price. Advantage Specialties is your one-stop shop for business promotional needs in Huntsville, and Murray Insurance and Financial Services, an agency you can trust.
First and 10 for Bryan on their own 22-yard line. They move right to left across your own radio dials. Man in motion is Lozano Cervantes, and now a whistle to blow the play dead and a delay of game. Puts them back 5 to make it 1st and 15 inside their own 20 now at their own 17.
Look, I'm not sure what that was. Maybe a little miscommunication between quarterback and coaching staff there. Regardless, it's going to put Bryan in 1st and 15.
Been a couple times that they've had that situation potentially happen tonight, as there's a quick wrap-up as Runnels tried to break to the outside. The stop is made there on the play. Shiloh Jones, a player who shined last season for this Huntsville squad. He was extra fired up after that tackle for the senior linebacker.
And yeah, just great play recognition there by Shiloh. He's one of the leaders of this defensive unit, able to get a good play there in the backfield. Loss of about 1.
Handoff here in 2nd down and forever. Up the gut, still almost broke his way past the right side of the line of scrimmage, still with his teammates bull rushing past the original line of scrimmage, and we'll get to about the 24-yard line. It'll be a gain of about 8 on the play. Make it 3rd down and 8 coming up.
And a great push there by the Bryan offensive line, able to get a couple extra yards out of that run. Instead of gaining only about 5 yards, they pushed him forward for about a 3 extra. Brings up a 3rd and a little more manageable here for the Bryan Vikings.
7.5 minutes left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home 4th quarter of play. 35-17, Huntsville leads Bryan in this one. 2 receivers to the near sideline. Shotgun snap, Turner looks to the near sideline. This one intercepted on a bobble. Taking it, McCord Norman. He's got blockers in front of him. Dives for the pylon. He is in for 6. Pick 6 for Huntsville. McCorrick Norman, we've been saying his name all night. He steps up big once again and really puts the icing on the cake with 7 minutes left in this one.
Woo, talk about a great play. Like we talked about, senior leadership on this team. Guys like Shiloh Jones and now McCorrick Norman making huge plays for Huntsville here late, and that is going to put the icing on the cake. It almost seems like an insurmountable lead here for Huntsville. If they make this extra point, they're up big time.
That touchdown brought to you by MRC Creekside, something they did last week. A couple of interceptions Huntsville was able to get. They have 2 tonight, 1 from Kenneth Scott III, who we talked about earlier, and McCormick Norman, who we talked about earlier, both of them stepping up and continuing to be the stars of the defensive side. Snap, hold, kick is good on the Nelson Amaya Collision Center. Extra point try. 42-17 the score, 7:08 left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home 4th quarter of play. We'll take a quick break, be back to the stadium here after this on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. .708 left to go here in Huntsville, Texas, here at Huntsville ISD Stadium. The Hornets, if you're just tuning in, they've blown this thing wide open. 42-17 over the Bryan Vikings after a pick 6 of about 25, 30-ish yards from McCourt Norman, the senior linebacker, getting it done as he has all night long to extend the lead. Jordan Smith here alongside me. Houston Hardcastle, 3rd member of the crew, Emma Sims, down to the sideline. We'll get to her in just a second. This one another pooch kick, this one a little short as it is taken out of bounds, and a late flag comes in for a late hit, what's going to be on the return from DeAndre Williams.
That's Peyton Pryor, the senior safety, just hitting late.
While we have a moment, let's head down to our 3rd member of the team in Emma Sims. And Emma, something that obviously we've seen the defense step up well. We've seen the receivers do pretty well. But one thing that has really been a staple, we talked about it earlier, is this running game for Huntsville. But they're just as good as the offensive line has been so far for them this season.
Well, all I have to say, for sure that interception, that was just a beautiful interception. So that just means the defense is doing something right along with the offense. And that kick for that extra point was beautiful. Perfect spiral, it looked like, from my view. And this defense has really stepped up their game from last week, holding back the line from Bryan to avoid them from getting the scores. I mean, that's what that 17 points that they have means.
Thank you, Emma. We'll get to you later on in the ballgame. Don't forget, folks, as part of the AB Squared Self-Storage post-game wrap-up, she will talk with head coach Rodney Southern on what looks to be the first win of the 2024 regular season. All that coming up after the next 7 minutes of play. 1st and 10 for Bryan on their own 33-yard line. Hands it off on 1st and 10. Not much doing there. The starter's still out there for Bryan, obviously, as they try to get as much as they can. Javelin Wade, the junior running back, only gets a couple on the carry. 2nd down and 8, 6:45 and counting left to go in this Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter. Huntsville leads at 42-17 over Bryan. Shotgun snap, little pitch out there to Wade once again. He'll find a seam on the outside, but is met by a couple members of the secondary, one of them being Braylon Phelps for Huntsville. It might be enough for the first down. In fact, is at the first down marker. A gain of 8 to the 43. New set of downs, 1st and 10 for Bryan.
Yeah, and even though you have the big lead here, if you're Huntsville, you can't just give up on this drive. You've got to limit Bryan here on offense. You don't want them catching their stride. I mean, it's high school football. We've seen crazier things happen.
Handoff here once again. Wade using a couple blockers to his advantage. Breaks his seam, jukes a man in Braylon Phelps. He's got a wide open seam, but is stopped. No, he's not. Raylan Brown tried to bring him down. Instead, it is a rushing touchdown of 57 yards for Jalen Wade. And that's the one big offensive play that they have been waiting for since the first quarter of action.
And if you're Huntsville, you just can't give that up. You have them dead to rights in the water, just absolutely out of this game. And then you give Bryan just a little bit of life here. I mean, it still seems pretty insurmountable at this point, but anything can happen now.
Jafet Gonzalez in for the point after try, snap, hold, kick through the uprights. 42-23 the score, 6:18 left to go in the ball game. We will take a quick break. Be right back after this here at Huntsville ISD Stadium on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Really bad time to try to finish my sandwich here. Very good food here provided, of course, by Huntsville ISD. We appreciate their support for allowing us to be able to do these games, as well providing the video feed that you're watching if you're on the KSAM YouTube channel. Appreciate you tuning in, as always, here to the beautiful Huntsville ISD Stadium. We said it last year, and I will say it for as long as I can. One of the absolute crown jewels of East Texas.
No doubt about it. This is just such a great stadium to play in. I mean, you just look down from where our vantage point here, you see the crowd up and at them, just really rallying behind this Hornet team. This was a great investment in this stadium to really just bring this to the community and give some to rally behind the team. It's a really nice stadium for people to play in, like you talked about. Definitely a crown jewel.
There we go, setting up for the onside kick. Bryan trying to give themselves an opportunity. 6:18 left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter of play. And a pooch kick instead of the onside. That will bounce. Nobody gets it. Now they do, does Huntsville. Took a little bit, but finally got there.
Yeah, and a smart play there by Braylon Phelps. We've called his name a couple times tonight. Smart play to just fall on it, try not to do too much. you don't want to risk a fumble or maybe even a muffed kickoff, and Bryan gets the ball in their Huntsville territory. So really smart there by him just falling on that ball.
42-24, Huntsville ahead of Bryan. 6:18 left to go in this ball game. Welcome you back to the Frank's Taco Station broadcast booth. Jordan Smith alongside me. Houston Hardcastle down on the sideline, Emma Sims. And no shocker, Adolph back out there as a signal caller we expected for the rest of this ball game. Handoff to Jerry Singletary, not doing too much. Actually, the handoff to David Brown, apologies there, but gain of a couple to the 30-yard line. 2nd down and 8 coming up here.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how the freshman quarterback closes out this game. This is a situation where you want to just milk the clock. This needs to be a drive where the clock just is milked all day long, and you just come out of here with a convincing win against Bryan. If you milk that clock, don't try to true too much. Don't try to be a hero here with a big lead.
Two receivers to the far side. Now a man in motion in Paul Nelson, the senior tight end. Shotgun snap, handoff once again, like you said, burning clock. He's got a seam. He's got the 50. He's got a whole lot more. David Brown breaking to the pylon. Touchdown, Huntsville. 70-yard run. Who needs to milk the clock when you can do plays like that?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, if you don't milk the clock, why not go get 6? Great run there by David Brown, and just really able to control this game. It seems like Huntsville has in the second half on the ground. The ground game has looked a lot more convincing here tonight. Just a couple big runs by Zay Adolfi and then obviously by David Brown. It's been a really great showing here in the second half for the Hornets.
MRC Creekside touchdown now brings us into Nelson Amaya's Collision Center point after try. On the kick, Caleb Kulak, snap, hold, kick, through the uprights, straight through the middle. 5:25 left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter. We'll take a quick break. 49-24, Hornets lead the Vikings here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here in Huntsville, 5:25 left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home fourth quarter of play. Huntsville, again, continuing to expand the lead. 49-24 the score. And this is what you like to see, a lot of offense that has been created by Huntsville over these first 2 games of the season, getting 30-plus last week, 49, almost 50 now here this week. Very, very good showing heading into next week's contest.
Yeah, and you were able to work out the kinks from week 1 tonight. I mean, in the fourth quarter, the discipline has been a lot better. Not a lot of penalties for Huntsville, not a lot of those drive killers that put you in those 1st and 15 situations, things like that. Really cleaned it up here in the fourth quarter.
This one a kick starting at about the 26-yard line. Players running into each other. Caden Weathersby, the sophomore wide receiver, was the one on the return, bringing it out to about the 30... We'll call it 35-yard line, maybe give him a couple extra yards, but either way. While we have a second, let's take a couple more of our wonderful sponsors that make this broadcast possible.
No doubt about it. Frank's Taco Station in Riverside, Country Kitchen Tacos and more, Nelson Amaya's Collision Center, honest work, quality service, and finally, Huntsville Independent School District. It's a great day to be a Hornet. We are building champions, everyone, every day.
Quick score update, P&G gets the win over Beaumont United, 45-14, the final score in that ball game. We'll have more scores for you throughout the rest of this one and around the district as well during the AB Squared Self-Storage post-game wrap-up. First play on the drive, handoff up the gut, gets to the 35, now 36, and progression is finally stopped. They'll give him the 37. So a couple officially on the gain for the Bryan Vikings as the clock continues to wind down. About 5 minutes left to go in this one here in Friday Night Football. 2nd down and 8 on Bryan's own 37-yard line, moving right to left across your radio dials. Huntsville leads 49-24 over the Vikings.
And not a lot of urgency here from the Bryan offense. Kind of near the end of the half, that same thing. Just not a lot of urgency. They need to be moving.
Handoff once again up the gut. Only a gain of a yard and a half. We'll see if they mark it a yard or two. Looks like they'll just mark it a yard, so 3rd down and 7 coming up.
A good play there by the senior Zach Moss. Great play to stop that running back. For Bryan, not a lot there, and it's 3rd down, 3's up here in Huntsville.
3rd down and 6, ball on the Bryan 38-yard line. 4:09 and counting left to go in this one. Huntsville leads 49-24. Here's a handoff near sideline. Reynolds back in the ball game. Can't run that far. Gets to the 42. That's about it. 4-yard gain on the play. They'll give him the 43 to make it 5. Right, officially make it 4. But not enough for the 1st down. 4th down and 2. And it looks like the offensive unit will stay on the field.
And if you're Bryan, this is the game. If you don't get this, it's over. You could argue that it's already over, being up 24-49, but this is really going to do it for you if you're Bryan. You have to pick this up. And still, like I said, not a lot of urgency there from Bryan. Letting a lot of this clock kind of bleed out.
Yeah, I think right now they're just trying to do what they can. They're probably fixing to take a timeout is what it looks like. It'll be the first timeout taken by either side here to start this, or in this second half of play. So while we get a chance to, let's take a look at the upcoming schedules for both sides here in this ball game for Huntsville and for Bryan as well here tonight. Next week, of course, will be the final non-district game for your Huntsville Hornets this season, as they will take their talents on the road to face off against Cedar Park. A long road trip, if you will, of about 3 hours from here. So
talk about a trip.
It'll be a good bus ride for sure. That, of course, next Friday, 7 p.m. right here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network, 101.7 KSAM-FM, the mobile app, website, and on the KSAM YouTube channel. Then after that, they get a bye week, and then district starts after that against West Fork on the road before coming back here for the first home district game of the season against PNG, the rematch of the regional final. We will get you Bryan's upcoming schedule here in just a second, but in the meantime, we got some laundry on the field brought to you by AIM Agencies for the fall start on the Bryan Vikings. So while we look at it, the upcoming schedule for the Bryan Vikings looks like this. Of course, tonight's ball game, but coming up in their next 3, they've got Brenham next on the docket, the crosstown rivals, if you will, or near-town rivals, if you will, coming up next Friday night, followed by George Ranch the week after at home, and then they'll have a bye week before starting their district first week of October against Caparas Cove. All 3 of those games at home, I should say, for the Bryan Vikings. This punt sent away by Bryan on the 4th down play. Phelps saying, let it go, let it go, let it go. And it will take a very favorable Viking bounce and a flag slingshotted from midfield to right around the 25-30 yard line. As there was a shove there, I think that's going to go on Huntsville. Looks like a little bit of retaliation from one of the Hornets. Might have been Xavier Scott, the cornerback. But we'll see officially. All I knew is there were players that were flying on the field.
See what the call is here from the white hat.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 18, Huntsville. Pass the distance to goal, 1st down, Huntsville.
So it looks like it wasn't Xavier Scott. He may have just been in the area. It's actually Claudio Alvarenga, senior safety. First time we've called his name tonight, but because of that, Huntsville, deep in their own territory to start things off, will start inside their own 10, the deepest they've had to start a series so far tonight. They will start it at their own 7-yard line. Again, moving left to right across your radio dials. 3:04 left to go in the Heritage Oak Funeral Home 4th quarter as they lead 49-24 over the Bryan Vikings. Here's a handoff to the outside. The running back can't get the vertical seam on the run from Jacavian Burks. No gain on the play. 2nd and 10 coming up.
Yeah, and not a great run there by Huntsville. Just unable to get the outside leverage that he wanted there. Good stop there from Bryan's defensive line. Bringing up a 2nd and 10 for Huntsville, kind of deep in their own territory. Definitely don't want to give up a safety here. Maybe introduce a scoregami with 26 to 49.
We'd have to look that up.
that might be for the research.
Yeah,
after the game.
yeah. And maybe a couple days from now. 3 receivers to the near sideline. They will hand it off to Burks to the far sideline. They get a couple, not much else. Up to what looks to be about the 10. No, he's still not down. Referees haven't blown the whistle. Good second effort, and that is what they teach you. If you have not hit the ground and you don't hear a whistle, keep moving the ball.
Yeah, absolutely, and a great second effort there by Burks, able to just keep those legs churning. Doesn't hear a whistle.
And now they call him down.
Yeah, it looks like they call him down. Didn't initially hear a whistle from up here, and I'm not sure why they called that back, but regardless, going to bring up a 3rd and 9 for Huntsville.
Ball on the 9-yard line, 3rd and 8 here for your Hornets. They need the 17 to convert. They currently sit on the 9. Minute 28 and counting left to go in the ball game here tonight. Again, Huntsville leads 49 to 24, just trying to bleed out as much clock as they can. They will wait for that play clock that now sits at 10 to wind itself down. Man in motion is Paul Nelson. They will hand it off on 3rd down. Trying to break the outside as Burks won't be able to do it as he stumbles and gets tripped up at the 14-yard line.
Yeah, and no reason for Huntsville to run up the score here. Just run the ball, waste the clock, just get out of here with a victory. It looks like Huntsville is going to punt the ball to Bryan, but they're most likely just going to let the clock bleed after this. Go out, get a win. Good, convincing win here, especially here in the 4th quarter for the Hornets.
Kulak back deep to send it away for Huntsville, standing at his own 1-yard line. Back to receive DeAndre Williams. This will be the final play. Huntsville will have possession of the ball in this contest. Waiting for that play clock to run dry. Gets the snap, sends it away. Good end-over-end kick, probably one of the better ones of the night, as it will take a very favorable Huntsville roll. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Past the 30 and down to the 29-yard line. What a punt there from Caleb Kulak, the junior. Getting it done, and now only 13 seconds left. This will be the final play of the ballgame.
Yeah, and that's just so much fun to have a play like that at the end of the game. And yeah, Huntsville's going to walk away here with a convincing win, 24 to 49. This will most likely be Bryan's last play of offense. Interesting to see if they take a knee or maybe try to run something on offense. Regardless, this will probably be the last play of the game.
No reason to try anything. Just with the difference, it's not like you can score a touchdown on this play and win the ball game. So just run one more play and start the handshake line, as the players have already started to do for both sides. 13 seconds left to go. Final play of the ball game. Turner snaps it, hands it off to the back. Checking into the ball game for what looks like the first time here tonight, Cedric Robinson, the senior running back, getting his first and only carry up to what looks like the 33, but that'll do it. Huntsville 1-1 on the regular season as the fans show their appreciation. Again, the student faithful out in full force, the Huntsville community out in full force to see what is once again another convincing win over the Bryan Vikings. 49-24, the final score here at Huntsville ISD Stadium. We will take a quick break, and when we come back, the AB Squared Self-Storage post-game wrap-up. We'll recap the second half. We'll send it down to Emma Sims to talk with head coach Rodney Southern, get our player of the game, look ahead to what's coming up next week to round out non-district, and then we will send you on your merry way. All of that and more coming up next here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network. Back here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network as we welcome you to the AB Squared Self-Storage post-game wrap-up. Again, final score here in this one. Huntsville gets the win, 49-24. The final score here in this one. Alongside me is Houston Hardcastle. My name is Jordan Smith. We will go down to Emma on the sideline as soon as Coach is done with the team here in just a minute or so from now. But again, what a big win for this one. It looked like it was going to be another defensive stalemate going into the rest of the ball game. But Huntsville finally took the cap off of the jar, if you will. Try to make an analogy. It wasn't great. Wasn't smooth. Either way, point is, Huntsville got the job done. They then put it on late, got the extra touchdowns late, big touchdowns as well, just whatever they were able to do. They found the seam, they found the scheme, they found what works, and were able to get the win here tonight. Quickly, 30 seconds.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Huntsville just with a convincing win here tonight, and it really started with the young guys in Adolph and Burks with a couple good runs, able to get a few efficient drives out of there for Huntsville.
Let's now send it down to our third member of our broadcast team, Emma Sims, with the winning head coach in Ronnie Southern.
All right, Coach. I'm going to start off with some opening thoughts on the first win.
Well, it was a good ball game. Obviously, the defensive touchdown there kind of sealed the deal, but we got all four running backs in the game. We got every O-lineman in the game. And the ability to run the ball, especially when you're against the wind tonight, was probably the difference in the game. That, and we finally settled down defensively and didn't give up another big play.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity for improvement within your team?
Well, we'll have to look at film, but obviously giving up those big plays early, we got to get that fixed. But I thought we were physical at the point of attack. I thought we tackled a little better tonight than we did last week. We dropped a couple passes. That's got to change. But overall, I thought we were pretty good tonight.
And then what's something you learned about your team tonight?
Well, I thought we would be physical, which we were. So I don't know that I really learned that, but I think a couple other guys were more physical than I thought. So anytime you can be physical and run the ball, we're going to have a chance to win.
All right, Coach, I got one more question. So we saw the crowd was great tonight. How do you think that really helped your team come out with this win?
Well, the big thing is, I've pushed to have a really good student section. Now we got to figure out when to yell and when to do whatever you need to do. I don't know all the answers to that either, but it's good to have a home crowd, obviously, and having a new stadium, I think, makes that a whole lot better.
Well, thank you, Coach, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
All right, back to y'all.
Appreciate your work, Emma, as always, as we bring it back into the Frank's Taco Station broadcast booth for the AB Squared Self-Storage post-game wrap-up. Jordan Smith here alongside of me is Houston Hardcastle. And Houston, again, just a fantastic win. It was, like we mentioned earlier, kind of like a broken record. It was an offensive showing for the first 6 minutes, both teams getting to 14 very quickly, and then defensive for the final 18 minutes or so of that first half. Started to be that way. That started the second half, but really, end of the third and the entire fourth, Huntsville turned on the Jets and really put it to them.
Yeah, and no doubt about it. And it really just started with a couple efficient drives there in the fourth quarter for Huntsville. Really, like we talked about, relying on some of those young guys in Zay and in Burks, able to really lead the most efficient Huntsville drive of the night. They were really able to come out on the field as a couple of young guys, with Zay being just a freshman and Burks really only being a sophomore. And, David Brown had that big run. There were a couple of players tonight who really put their stamp on this game. Savion Conte had a good game. Of course, Josh Stanley caught the passing touchdown from Austin Taylor. Just a couple of guys who really had some big games. It was really overall just a team effort tonight for Huntsville. And that's the important thing that needs to be going forward, is there doesn't necessarily have to be a star player on this team. No, obviously when you think of stars on this team, you think of Trayshawn Brown. You think of guys like Savion Conte. But as long as the Huntsville Hornets can consistently put out guys who can really control the offense like we saw from Adolph and Burks tonight, I think this Huntsville team has a real chance of recreating that magical run they had last year.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will have our AB Squared Self-Storage Player of the Game. And honestly, we may be giving it to a couple people tonight because there was a lot of players who stood out pretty well in this ball game and had a lot of great contributions. But all that coming up on the other side of this break. Again, Huntsville wins 49-24 here at home in Huntsville ISD Stadium here in Week 2 of the regular season. Back here in the AB Squared Self-Storage post-game wrap-up. Once again, final score here in this one. Huntsville wins 49-24 to take home the victory here tonight. Go 1-1 on the season. And Trayshawn Brown with a little bit extra energy decides, I'm going to do a somersault or two on the sideline to celebrate. By the way, quick shout-out. Heather Hardcastle tuning into the YouTube stream saying, good job, shout-out to the Hardcastles. Fantastic work, of course. Houston, our main sideline guy here in the booth tonight, and of course our in-house engineer in Justin Hardcastle. We have 2 post-game wrap-up player of the games brought to you by AB Squared Self-Storage. We'll do one at a time. The first one we will start with is McCorrick Norman. What a ball game for him. Absolutely fantastic for him. Had the pick 6. He had a lot of great defensive stops as well in the ball game. You had him on a good amount of tackles for loss as well. Really had himself an all-around great ball game. Other great considerates on the defensive side, Kenneth Scott III, and a whole bunch of other players. Shiloh Jones getting the late tackle for loss as well. McCorrick Norman had himself a very good night.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. McCorrick Norman was consistently there in the passing attack for Bryan, able to get those. Any short pass, it seemed like McCorrick Norman was there to instantly stop it. And then, of course, obviously, the electrifying pick 6, which really brought the game, you know, in out of reach for Bryan. And it was just, like you said, there was a couple of guys it could have gone to. Kenneth Scott almost had 2 interceptions on the night. It could have easily gone to him. Braylon Phelps made a couple of good plays on the defensive side. We talked about him a little bit earlier in the broadcast, making that transition from the offensive side of the ball last year to now the defensive side of the ball, playing ball hawk safety. He had a couple of good plays. There's just a couple of guys. Shiloh Jones had a couple of good plays tonight. Peyton Pryor, the senior safety, had some good plays, and really just an all-around effort from all the guys tonight, like we talked about.
By the way, player of the game brought to you by Bill Fick Ford. My apologies, just assumed because he was in the postgame. But either way, regardless, our second player of the game brought to you by Bill Fick Ford, Trayshawn Brown. You know, there are a lot of offensive players you could have gone to, but Trayshawn Brown once again shining in the running game, having himself a fantastic night. And you even saw some great performances from other running backs as well. You had David Brown get in there, make some good plays. Jerry Singletary, technically a tight end, but still getting in a little bit with the running game as well. You even had Jacavian Burks try to make a couple plays as well. You had a lot of players make impacts in the running game, but Trayshawn Brown, the junior running back, getting our second player of the game nod, brought to you by Bill Fick Ford.
Yeah, and like you talked about, it could have gone to a lot of guys on the offensive end. Savion Conte had himself a pretty good night. Josh Stanley, the senior wide receiver, had the touchdown pass from Austin Taylor. Again, it was just a total team effort tonight, and it kind of is. It does kind of bite that we had to just choose one from both offense and defense. But if we had to give it to someone, it has to be Trayshawn Brown, Mr. Game-breaking speed. You know, he's always a threat in there in the backfield. And he really was able to lead this team tonight and get them to a convincing win over the Bryan Vikings tonight.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will look ahead to next week's matchup against Cedar Park. And then we'll wrap this whole shindig up because why not? Back after this here on the Hornet Nation Broadcast Network.